She needed money desperately. He needed someone he could trust with his children. It was supposed to be a simple transaction. Employee and employer. Nothing more. But Miller Pierce didn't do simple. Every look was a promise. Every touch was a claim. And when he finally cornered her in his office and said, "I'm going to put you on that desk and make you forget every man before me," Jennifer realized she never stood a chance. Welcome back to Proudly Black Stories, my beautiful, amazing Pride family. You all have been so supportive, and I promise to always try my best to give you the best stories as I learn and improve every day. If this is your first time coming across my video, do comment below where you're watching from and hit subscribe to officially join the Pride family. Now, brace yourself for another wild ride. Jennifer's fingers were cramping around her ancient Canon camera, the weight of it pulling at her neck after 3 hours of standing in uncomfortable heels she'd borrowed from her roommate. The Metropolitan Museum's Great Hall had been transformed into something out of a fever dream. All Venetian masks and champagne towers and women dripping in jewels that cost more than her entire education. She wasn't supposed to be photographing people, just the architecture, the soaring marble columns and ornate moldings for her thesis on classical revival in modern New York spaces. But it was impossible to capture empty frames when Manhattan's elite kept swirling through her shots in their designer gowns and tuxedos. The catering company had been clear about the rules. Stay invisible, don't make eye contact with guests, and absolutely do not take photos of anyone identifiable. Jennifer had nodded along during the briefing, desperate enough for the $200 paycheck that she would have agreed to just about anything. Her tuition payment was 3 weeks overdue. Her landlord had started leaving increasingly aggressive notes under her door, and her father had called twice this week, asking for money she didn't have to cover debts she hadn't accumulated. So here she was, 24 years old, with a nearly completed fine arts degree, serving champagne to people who spent more on a single evening than she'd see in a year. She slipped away from the main ballroom during a violin crescendo, when everyone's attention was captured by the masked dancers swirling across the floor. The conservatory was supposed to be closed for the event, roped off with velvet barriers, but Jennifer had noticed earlier that the side entrance near the coat check was unguarded. She ducked under the rope, camera already raised, relief flooding through her as she entered the glass-enclosed space. Here, finally, was the shot she needed. Moonlight streamed through the geometric panels overhead, casting intricate shadows across the marble floor, and the spring flowers created a riot of color against all that classical white stone. She was lining up her third shot, adjusting the aperture to capture the interplay of natural and artificial light, when she heard voices. Low, intense, coming from the far corner behind a cluster of potted palms. Jennifer froze, finger still on the shutter button. She should leave, should back away quietly, but something in the tone made her pause. It wasn't the flirtatious murmur of party guests sneaking away for a romantic moment. It was angry, almost desperate. "You need to stop this," a woman's voice said, tight with fear. "He'll find out. He'll know I came here. Then why did you?" The male voice was deeper, controlled but with an edge that made Jennifer's skin prickle. "Why risk it if you have nothing to tell me? I'm telling you it's not safe. For any of us. Just, please, let it go." Jennifer knew she should run. Instead, drawn by some instinct she didn't understand, she shifted position to see around the palms. The woman was slight, dark-haired, wearing a vintage gown that looked like it belonged in a different era. A sapphire bracelet caught the light at her wrist as she tried to pull away. The man had his hand wrapped around her other wrist, not violently but firmly, keeping her from fleeing. He was tall, broad, shouldered in his perfectly tailored tuxedo, his mask covering half his face, but not hiding the sharp line of his jaw or the intensity in his visible features. That was when Jennifer's flash went off. She'd bumped the setting while moving, and the bright pop of light exploded through the conservatory like a gunshot. Both figures spun toward her. The woman gasped and wrenched free, disappearing into the shadows so quickly Jennifer almost thought she'd imagined her. But the man, he went completely still, his eyes locking onto Jennifer with an intensity that pinned her in place. For a heartbeat, maybe two, nobody moved. Jennifer could hear her own pulse hammering in her ears, could feel the camera suddenly heavy as evidence in her hands. Then the man took a step forward, and her paralysis broke. She ran. Her heels clattered on marble as she burst back through the conservatory door, dodging a waiter with a tray of hors d'oeuvres, nearly colliding with a woman in a peacock feathered mask. Jennifer didn't look back, just kept moving, shouldering through the crowd toward the staff exit. She could feel his eyes on her, could sense something predatory in the way the crowd seemed to part. Did he see her face? Her camera? God, what had she just photographed? Jennifer made it to the employee area, yanked off her catering uniform jacket and grabbed her coat from the locker, stuffing it over her black dress. Her hands shook as she rewound the film, protected the canister, shoved it deep in her bag. She was being paranoid, she told herself. It was just a man talking to a woman at a party. Nothing sinister, nothing worth this spike of adrenaline flooding her system. But she couldn't shake the memory of the woman's fear, or the way the man had looked at her through the flash blindness, like he was memorizing every detail. The subway ride back to Brooklyn felt endless. Jennifer clutched her camera bag to her chest and tried to rationalize what she'd seen. Maybe they were having an affair. Maybe it was a business dispute. Maybe the woman was dramatic and the whole thing was perfectly innocent. She almost convinced herself by the time she climbed the 4 flights to her cramped studio apartment, by the time she locked the 3 deadbolts her landlord had installed after the break-in 2 months ago. Her roommate Sienna was still out, probably at her boyfriend's place, so Jennifer had the shoebox-sized space to herself. She made instant ramen, because it was all she had left until her paycheck cleared, tried to focus on editing the architecture shots on her ancient laptop, told herself she was going to delete the conservatory photo without even looking at it. She looked at it. The image was slightly blurred from her startled movement, but the composition was striking. The man was in sharp focus, his body language aggressive but controlled, every line of him radiating power and tension. The woman was softer, motion blurred as she pulled away, but that bracelet glinted like a sapphire star on her wrist. And his face, even half-masked, was devastating. Sharp cheekbones, a mouth curved in what might have been anger or anguish, eyes that seemed to stare directly through the camera into Jennifer's soul. She was studying the image, trying to decide if the woman's body language read as resistant or just animated when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Jennifer stared at it for 3 rings before answering. "Miss Leonard?" The voice was crisp, professional, male. "My name is James Voss. I represent a client who would like to discuss a photograph taken this evening at the Metropolitan Museum fundraiser." Jennifer's stomach dropped. "I don't know what you're talking about. Please don't insult both our intelligence. My client is prepared to offer you $100,000 for all copies of the photograph in question, plus any negatives or digital files. You'll also sign a non-disclosure agreement. The funds can be wired to your account within the hour." $100,000. Jennifer's mind reeled. Her student loans, her father's debts, her rent, all of it could disappear. She could actually focus on her art instead of survival. But something about the speed, the amount, the clinical efficiency of the offer made warning bells scream in her head. "Who's your client?" she asked. "That information is confidential. Do we have an agreement, Miss Leonard? I need to think about it. You have until noon tomorrow. I'll call back." The line went dead. Jennifer didn't sleep. She spent the night researching, trying to figure out who the mystery man could be. The fundraiser had been invite-only. Manhattan's wealthiest elite. She scrolled through society pages, business journals, looking for that distinctive jawline, those intense eyes. She found him just as dawn started painting her dirty window gold. Miller Pierce, 36 years old, Tech mogul who'd built a software empire before he was 30, net worth somewhere in the billions with a B, and widowed 2 years ago when his wife Vivienne drowned in their penthouse bathtub, leaving him with twin toddlers. Jennifer stared at his photo on the Forbes website. It was him, no question. In the business headshot, he looked controlled, almost cold, nothing like the raw intensity she'd captured in the conservatory. She dug deeper, found the sparse information about his wife's death. Accidental drowning. No suspicious circumstances. A tragic end to what the articles described as a private marriage. The more she read, the more questions she had. Why was Miller Pierce grabbing a frightened woman at a charity ball 2 years after his wife's death? Why was that woman wearing what looked like vintage jewelry and a dress from another decade? And why was he willing to pay $100,000 for a slightly blurry photo? Would you take the money if you were Jennifer, or would your curiosity demand answers first? By the time James Voss called back at exactly noon, Jennifer had made her decision. I'm not selling the photo. Silence on the other end, stretching so long she thought he'd hung up. Then, may I ask why? Because something's wrong. That woman looked scared. And I'm not going to help cover up something that might be, I don't know, criminal or something. Miss Leonard, I assure you, there's nothing criminal about the situation. My client simply values his privacy, as I'm sure you can understand. Then he can value it without my help. I'm not interested in the money. Another pause. I see. My client will be disappointed. I'd hoped we could resolve this amicably. The implied threat made Jennifer's spine straighten. Are you threatening me, Mr. Voss? Of course not. Simply stating facts. Good day, Miss Leonard. This time, he did hang up. Jennifer told herself she'd done the right thing, told herself all afternoon as she tried to focus on her other coursework, told herself through the evening as she picked up a dinner shift at the diner down the street where she sometimes waitressed. She stopped telling herself around midnight when she came home to find a man sitting on the steps outside her building. Not just any man. Miller Pierce himself, without the mask this time, wearing dark pants and a black sweater that probably cost more than her monthly rent, looking completely out of place in her neighborhood of crumbling brownstones and overflowing trash cans. He stood when he saw her, and Jennifer's first instinct was to run. Her second was to stand her ground, because she was exhausted and broke and tired of being afraid. Miss Leonard, he said, his voice exactly as she remembered from the conservatory, deep and controlled. I believe we need to talk. I already told your lawyer no. I know. And I'm not here to negotiate through intermediaries. Miller took a step closer, and Jennifer noticed details the photograph hadn't captured. The faint shadows under his eyes, suggesting he slept as poorly as she did. The tension in his shoulders, the way his hands stayed loose at his sides, non-threatening but ready. May I come up? Absolutely not. The corner of his mouth twitched. Might have been amusement. Smart. Can we at least talk out here? Jennifer glanced around the empty street, very aware that it was past midnight and she was alone with a strange man, billionaire or not. But there was something about his body language, the careful distance he maintained, that made her feel, if not safe, at least not in immediate danger. 5 minutes, she said. Fair enough. Miller leaned against the railing, and the casual pose didn't hide his intensity. You have something that belongs to me, Miss Leonard. I'm here to negotiate terms. I have a photograph that I took with my camera on public property. That belongs to me. Technically, the museum is private property, and you violated the terms of your catering contract by bringing a personal camera. Jennifer's jaw tightened. You investigated me. Of course I did. Jennifer Marie Leonard, 24, senior at NYU studying fine art photography. Parents divorced when you were 12. Father has a gambling problem, currently owes approximately $80,000 to various creditors. Mother remarried and moved to Seattle, minimal contact. You work 3 part-time jobs to cover tuition and living expenses. You're talented enough that your thesis advisor thinks you could actually make it as a professional artist. and you have $13 in your checking account." He said it all without inflection, just facts. Did I miss anything? The violation of it, the casual invasion of her privacy, made Jennifer's hands curl into fists. "You have no right. I have every right to know who's attempting to blackmail me. I'm not blackmailing anyone. I just don't want to be part of whatever that was in the conservatory." "And what do you think it was?" Miller's voice dropped. Something dangerous threading through it. "What did you see through that lens of yours?" Jennifer met his eyes, refusing to be intimidated. "I saw a terrified woman trying to get away from you." Something flickered across his face, gone too quickly to identify. "Did you?" "Yes. So forgive me if I'm not eager to help you cover it up." "Cover it up." He repeated the words slowly, like tasting them. Then, shockingly, he laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. "You think I'm some kind of predator? That I was, what? Assaulting someone at a charity ball surrounded by 500 witnesses? I don't know what you are. And I actually don't care." Miller studied her for a long moment, and Jennifer had the unsettling feeling of being catalogued, assessed, measured against some internal standard. "That woman in the photograph," he said finally, "was my wife. She's been dead for 2 years. Unless you believe in ghosts, Miss Leonard, I suggest you reconsider your interpretation." The words hit like a physical blow. Jennifer's mind raced back to the image, the woman's face half hidden by her mask, and the angle. "That's impossible," I agree. And yet there I was, having a very intense conversation with someone wearing my dead wife's favorite dress, her jewelry, speaking with her voice. His control cracked just slightly, pain bleeding through. "So you'll understand why I'd prefer that photograph not end up on the cover of every tabloid in the country with speculation about whether I've lost my mind or if Vivian Pierce somehow rose from the dead." Jennifer felt her certainty wavering. I'm sorry. I didn't know." "Of course. You didn't." Miller straightened, the vulnerability shuttering away behind that controlled facade. "But now you do. And I'm prepared to make you a very generous offer for your silence and those negatives." "I already said I don't want money." "Everyone wants money, Miss Leonard. I've just learned that some people need the number to be higher before they admit it." He pulled out his phone, typed something. 200,000. Final offer. Take it or leave it, but decide now, because my patience has limits. Jennifer's mind spun. $200,000. It was life-changing, it was freedom, it was everything she needed, and more. But something about the way he said it, the casual dismissal, the assumption that she was just another person with a price, made her anger flare hot. "I don't want your money," she said clearly. "I want you to leave me alone. I'll delete the photo. I won't tell anyone what I saw, and we can both forget this happened." Miller's expression shifted, something like surprise crossing his features. "Just like that?" "Yes, just like that. You're either incredibly noble or incredibly stupid." He studied her face. "I haven't decided which. Does it matter? You're getting what you want." "I never get what I want, Miss Leonard. I get what I can negotiate or take." He was closer now. Jennifer hadn't seen him move, but suddenly there were only inches between them. "But I'm curious. If you don't want money, what do you want?" The question hung in the air between them. Jennifer could smell his cologne, cedar and something darker, could see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes. "I want to go to bed without worrying if I can make rent. I want my father to stop calling me asking for money I don't have. I want to make art that matters, instead of serving champagne to people who don't even see me." "So you do want money?" "I want security." Miller's eyes narrowed, calculating. "What if I could offer you both, security and a clean conscience?" "I'm listening." "I need a nanny. For my children, twins 3 years old, live-in position, 1-year contract, salary of 200,000 plus room and board, your tuition paid in full. In exchange, you give me the photographs, all copies, the negatives, and you sign an NDA about everything you saw tonight." Jennifer stared at him. "You want to hire me as a nanny? You don't even know if I'm qualified. You helped raise yourself from age 12. You're patient enough to work 3 jobs while finishing a degree. Your background check came back clean. That's more qualified than the last 4 nannies I've hired." His jaw tightened. "They need stability. Someone who won't quit after 3 months because I'm actually too difficult to work with." "Are you? Too difficult to work with?" "Yes." No hesitation. "I'm controlling. I have strict security protocols, and I don't tolerate people who can't follow instructions. But I pay well, and I'm offering you a solution to your problems." Jennifer's mind raced. It was insane. She didn't know this man, didn't know anything about caring for children beyond babysitting neighbors' kids for extra cash in high school. But $200,000. Tuition paid. Her father's debts cleared. A year of security to figure out her next move. "Why?" she asked. "Why not just buy the photos and move on?" Miller's expression was unreadable. "Because you didn't sell them when you needed money desperately. That tells me you have a conscience, and I need someone with a conscience around my children. Everyone else in my world has a price, an agenda. You, Jennifer Leonard, turned down $200,000 because you thought you witnessed something wrong. That's rare enough to be valuable." The way he said her name, full and deliberate, made something flutter in her chest that she firmly ignored. "I need time to think about it. You have 10 seconds. This offer expires the moment I walk away." "That's not fair." "Life isn't fair." 5 seconds. Jennifer thought of her overdue bills, her father's increasingly desperate calls, the student loan representatives who'd started sending threatening letters. She thought of her cramped apartment and the 3 jobs that barely kept her afloat. She thought of the twins in the Forbes article photo, 2 dark-haired toddlers with serious expressions, and wondered what kind of life they had with a father who hired live-in nannies like they were disposable. "Yes," she heard herself say. "I'll do it." Miller's shoulders dropped fractionally, tension releasing. "Smart choice. My driver will pick you up tomorrow morning at 9. Pack for a long-term stay. Tomorrow? I have classes. I have shifts. I can't just—" "You can and you will. I'll have my assistant contact your professors and employers. Everything will be handled." He pulled out a business card, pressed it into her hand. His fingers were warm, calloused, not the soft hands she'd expected from a billionaire. "That's my personal number. Call if you have questions. Otherwise, 9 a.m. sharp." He was halfway down the steps before Jennifer found her voice. "Wait, you said you'd clear my father's debts too." Miller looked back, and in the streetlight his face was all sharp angles and shadows. "Consider it a signing bonus. The wire transfer will go through tonight. Your father's creditors will be contacted in the morning." "Why would you do that?" "Because I don't want you distracted by outside problems. When you work for me, I expect your full attention." Something in his eyes intensified. "And Jennifer, when you're in my home, caring for my children, you belong to me. Your time, your energy, your focus. I don't share well. Remember that." The possessiveness in his tone should have set off alarm bells. Instead, it sent an unwanted shiver down her spine. "I'm not property, Mr. Pierce." "Miller," he corrected. "And no, you're not property. But you are mine for the next year. Get used to the idea." Then he was gone, sliding into a Blacktown car that had been idling at the corner. Jennifer stood on her front steps, his business card burning in her hand, and wondered what the hell she'd just agreed to. She found out the next morning when a driver arrived at exactly 9 a.m. in a Mercedes. The man was polite, professional, and completely silent as he loaded her 2 suitcases and portfolio bag into the trunk. Jennifer had spent the night packing in a daze, still half convinced this was an elaborate prank or fever dream. But her bank account that morning showed a deposit of $80,000 with the notation "debt clearance," and her father had called at 7 a.m., crying and thanking her for a miracle he didn't understand. The drive from Brooklyn to the Upper East Side took 30 minutes in morning traffic. Jennifer watched the neighborhoods change through the tinted windows. from her working-class area to increasingly affluent streets, until they pulled up in front of a gleaming high-rise that stretched toward the sky like a glass and steel monument to wealth. The lobby was all marble and modern art, the kind of space that made Jennifer acutely aware of her thrift store jeans and scuffed boots. The doorman greeted the driver by name, eyeing Jennifer with poorly concealed curiosity. She clutched her camera bag to her chest like a shield as they rode an elevator that required a key card to the penthouse level. The doors opened directly into Miller Pierce's home, and Jennifer's breath caught despite herself. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Central Park, the view so expansive it felt like standing in the sky. The interior was all clean lines and expensive minimalism, white walls and dark wood floors, furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. Everything was pristine, perfect, cold. And standing in the center of it all, looking just as austere and controlled as his surroundings, was Miller. He'd traded last night's casual wear for a charcoal suit that was probably Italian and definitely cost more than her car, his dark hair styled back, every inch the billionaire CEO. Only his eyes, tracking her movements as she stepped into the space, held that same intensity from the conservatory. "Miss Leonard," he said, formal now. "Welcome. I trust the drive was comfortable." "It was fine, thank you." Jennifer felt off balance, unsure how to navigate this version of him. "Good. I'll show you to your quarters, then introduce you to Caspian and Seraphine." He started walking without checking if she followed, clearly expecting obedience. Jennifer did follow, mostly because she didn't know what else to do, taking in details as they moved through the penthouse. Photos of the twins at various ages, but none of a woman who must have been Vivienne. A playroom visible through an open door, filled with expensive toys that looked barely touched. Hallways that seemed to stretch forever in this palace in the sky. Miller stopped at a door near the end of one hallway. "This is your suite. Bedroom, bathroom, sitting area. You're welcome to decorate as you like within reason. Meals are provided, the kitchen is fully stocked, help yourself to anything. Mrs. Dorothy is the housekeeper. She comes daily. Dax Merritt is head of security. You'll meet him later. If you need anything, there's an intercom system." He opened the door, and Jennifer stepped into a space twice the size of her Brooklyn apartment. The bedroom had the same floor-to-ceiling windows, the same stunning view. The furniture was elegant but comfortable, cream and soft grey tones. Her own bathroom had a tub big enough to swim in. "It's too much," Jennifer said. Miller leaned against the door frame, watching her take it in. "The twins' rooms are across the hall. Their schedule is posted on the refrigerator. Breakfast at 8, lunch at noon, dinner at 6. Nap time is 1 to 3, non-negotiable. They don't leave the penthouse without my explicit permission and a full security detail. No exceptions. Don't you think that's a little extreme? They're 3 years old." Miller's expression went glacial. "I think I know what's best for my children. Your job is to care for them within the parameters I've established, not to question my parenting." Jennifer bristled at the tone. "I thought you hired me because I have a conscience. Hard to exercise that if I can't ask questions. There's a difference between having a conscience and being insubordinate." He pushed off the doorframe, and suddenly the space felt smaller with him in it. "Let me be very clear about our arrangement, Jennifer. You are here because you need the money, and I need someone trustworthy around my children. That's all this is. I'm not looking for your opinions on how I raise them or how I run my life. You'll follow my rules, maintain appropriate boundaries, and at the end of the year, we'll part ways. Understood?" She should agree, should nod and play the obedient employee. Instead, Jennifer lifted her chin. "And if I think one of your rules is hurting them?" Miller's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Then, you'll remember who signs your paychecks and keep your thoughts to yourself. So I'm just supposed to be a warm body? Follow orders without thinking? You're supposed to do the job I hired you for." He took a step closer, voice dropping. "I don't need another person telling me I'm failing them. I'm quite aware of my shortcomings, Miss Leonard." What I need is someone who can give those children the attention and care I can't seem to provide without falling apart. Can you do that? Or did I make a mistake offering you this position?" The raw honesty beneath the harsh words caught Jennifer off guard. She saw it again, that crack in his armor, the pain he kept locked down so tight. "I can do that." "Good." Miller stepped back, control slamming back into place. "Unpack. I'll bring the twins to meet you in 30 minutes. And Jennifer, they've been through 6 nannies in 2 years. They have trust issues. Be patient with them." He left before she could respond, the door clicking shut behind him with a finality that felt like a challenge. Jennifer spent the 30 minutes unpacking her meager belongings, feeling like a fraud in this beautiful space. Her clothes looked shabby in the massive closet, her drugstore toiletries ridiculous in the marble bathroom. She set up her camera equipment in the sitting area, the familiar ritual calming her nerves slightly. Through the windows, Central Park spread out like a green oasis in the concrete jungle, and Jennifer wondered what she'd gotten herself into. A soft knock at 29 minutes. Miller's voice through the door. "We're ready when you are." Jennifer smoothed her shirt, checked her reflection, hated how nervous she looked. She opened the door to find Miller standing with 2 small children, partially hidden behind his legs. The twins from the photos, but smaller in person, more fragile. They both had dark curls and huge eyes, watching her with identical expressions of solemn wariness. "Caspian, Seraphine," Miller said, his voice gentler than Jennifer had heard it. "This is Miss Jennifer. She's going to be taking care of you." Neither child moved. The little girl, Seraphine, had a death grip on a stuffed rabbit that had seen better days. The boy, Caspian, just stared at Jennifer like he was trying to see through her. Jennifer crouched down to their level, making herself smaller, less threatening. "Hi. You can call me Jennifer. You don't have to be formal. That's a beautiful rabbit. What's its name?" Seraphine pressed closer to Miller's leg. Caspian's expression didn't change. "They're shy," Miller said, and Jennifer heard the frustration underneath. "It takes them time to warm up." "That's okay. We have a whole year to become friends." Jennifer smiled at the twins. "I have an idea. I brought my camera, and I love taking pictures. Would you like to see how it works? I could teach you." Still no response. Miller's jaw tightened. "Perhaps we should—" "Or—" Jennifer interrupted gently, still focused on the children. "You could show me your favorite toys. I bet you have some really cool things." Finally, movement. Seraphine whispered something too quiet to hear. Miller bent down. "What was that, sweetheart?" "Blocks," Seraphine said. Barely audible. "We have blocks." "Blocks are perfect. I love blocks. Can you show me?" Jennifer extended a hand, not pushing, just offering. Seraphine looked up at Miller, who nodded. Slowly, the little girl detached from her father's leg and took Jennifer's hand. Her palm was tiny and warm, her grip tentative. Caspian followed silently, and the 3 of them started toward the playroom. Jennifer glanced back to see Miller still standing in the hallway, watching them go with an expression that was equal parts relief and devastating loss. Their eyes met for a second, and Jennifer saw past the cold billionaire facade to the man underneath, drowning and desperate and trying so hard to hide it. Then he turned away, shoulders rigid, and disappeared into another part of the penthouse, leaving Jennifer alone with his children and no idea how to help any of them. The first 2 days passed in a careful dance of boundaries and routines. The twins were quiet, almost eerily so, following instructions without complaint but showing little emotion. Caspian hadn't spoken a single word in Jennifer's presence, though Seraphine whispered occasional requests. They ate what was put in front of them, played with their expensive toys without enthusiasm, and submitted to bath time and bedtime with the resigned air of prisoners following cell block schedules. Miller was a ghost in his own home. Jennifer caught glimpses of him, always in a suit, always on his phone or laptop, always locked behind the door of his home office. He didn't join them for meals. He didn't check in on bedtime routines. Once, Jennifer found him standing in the hallway outside the twins' room at 2 in the morning, just staring at their door like he wanted to go in, but couldn't make himself turn the handle. When he noticed her, he'd walked away without a word. Mrs. Dorothy, the housekeeper, was a kind-faced woman in her 60s who spoke in hushed tones and avoided Jennifer's questions about the family with practiced deflection. Dax Merritt, the security chief, was less subtle in his hostility, watching Jennifer like she might steal the silverware, checking her references multiple times, making it clear he thought Miller had made a mistake hiring her. It was suffocating and sad, this beautiful cage they all lived in. On day 3, Jennifer decided to break the rules. She woke up to spring sunshine streaming through her windows and made a choice. These children needed normalcy, needed fresh air and sunshine, and the chance to be actual kids instead of beautiful dolls in a penthouse museum. Miller had said no, leaving the building without permission, but Miller had also locked himself in his office at 7 in the morning for back-to-back conference calls and wouldn't surface until evening. What he didn't know wouldn't hurt him, and sometimes forgiveness was easier than permission. Jennifer dressed the twins in play clothes, proper shoes instead of their usual indoor slippers. Seraphine noticed immediately, her eyes going wide. "Where are we going?" "It's a surprise," Jennifer said with a smile she hoped was reassuring. "A good one, I promise." Caspian's hand slipped into hers, still silent, but trusting, and that small gesture of faith made Jennifer's decision feel right, even if it was technically wrong. She grabbed her camera, some snacks, and headed for the elevator. The doorman, Noble, looked uncertain when they approached. "Miss Leonard, does Mr. Pierce know you're taking the children out?" Jennifer lifted her chin, channeling a confidence she didn't entirely feel. "Mr. Pierce hired me to care for the children as I see fit. We're going to the park for an hour. Fresh air and exercise are important for development." Noble hesitated, clearly torn between his loyalty to Miller and not wanting to challenge the new nanny. Finally he nodded. "Stay where there's crowds, and keep them close." "Always," Jennifer promised. Central Park was 10 minutes away, already full of morning joggers and dog walkers and other nannies with their charges. Jennifer found a quiet area near the pond, spread out a blanket, and watched the twins' faces transform as they realized they were actually, truly outside. Seraphine took a tentative step onto the grass, then another, then suddenly she was running, her laugh bubbling up like she'd forgotten how to make the sound and was rediscovering it. Caspian was more cautious, staying close to Jennifer, but when she pulled out a bag of breadcrumbs and showed him how to feed the ducks, his whole face lit up with wonder. For an hour, they were just normal kids having a normal morning, and Jennifer captured it all through her camera lens. The joy, the innocence, the childhood that had been locked away in that glass tower. She was lining up a shot of both twins crouched by the water's edge, completely absorbed in watching a family of ducks, when a shadow fell across her viewfinder. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Jennifer spun to find Miller striding across the grass toward them, flanked by Dax and another security guard she didn't recognize. He'd abandoned his suit jacket somewhere, his tie loosened, and the fury radiating off him was almost visible. She'd never seen someone look so expensively disheveled and so absolutely enraged at the same time. "We're feeding the ducks," Jennifer said, keeping her voice calm even as her heart started hammering. "The children needed fresh air. The children needed—" Miller's voice was deadly quiet as he reached them, which was somehow worse than shouting, "to be safe. Inside. Where I explicitly told you they had to stay." Seraphine's face crumpled, her brief happiness evaporating. Caspian moved behind Jennifer's legs, making himself small. Jennifer felt her own anger spark in response to theirs being crushed. "They're fine, Miller. Look at them. They're happy for the first time since I arrived." "Happy," he repeated the word like it was foreign. "You think I care about happy when they could have been photographed, identified, taken? Do you have any concept of the risks you just exposed them to? We were supervised the entire time. I had eyes on them every second. Your eyes aren't trained security. Your eyes aren't enough. Miller pulled out his phone, his hand actually shaking. Dax, get them back to the penthouse. Now. Wait. Jennifer stepped between Dax and the twins. Don't do this. Don't punish them because you're angry at me. Miller's eyes locked on hers, and the intensity there stole her breath. Move, Miss Leonard. No. The word hung in the air between them. Dax shifted uncomfortably. A jogger passed by, oblivious to the standoff. Miller took a step closer to Jennifer, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. That wasn't a request, he said softly. Move, or I'll move you myself. Jennifer's pulse jumped at the barely leashed violence in his tone, but she held her ground. Then you'll have to, because I'm not letting you traumatize your children over an hour in the park. For a heartbeat, she thought he might actually grab her. His hands clenched at his sides, jaw so tight she could see the muscle jumping. Then his control reasserted itself with visible effort. Fine, we'll all go back together, but this conversation isn't over. The ride back to the penthouse was suffocating. Dax drove while Miller sat in the back with Jennifer and the twins, his silence more condemning than any lecture. Seraphine clutched her rabbit and sniffled quietly. Caspian stared out the window, his small shoulders hunched. Jennifer wanted to comfort them but didn't dare move, acutely aware of Miller's presence beside her, the heat of his anger filling the confined space. When they reached the building, Miller's voice was clipped. Dax, take Caspian and Seraphine to the playroom. Miss Leonard, my office, now. Jennifer followed him through the penthouse, her earlier confidence evaporating with each step. She'd known she was breaking his rules, but she hadn't expected this level of fury. Miller's office was as austere as the rest of the space, all dark wood and floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a massive desk with multiple monitors. He closed the door behind her with a quiet click that sounded ominous. Then he just stood there, back to the door, staring at her with an expression she couldn't read. Explain, he said finally. They needed to be outside. They needed to be normal children for an hour, instead of prisoners in a luxury cage. Prisoners. Miller's laugh was harsh. You think I'm keeping them prisoner? Aren't you? When's the last time they left this building, Miller? When's the last time they played with other kids, or felt grass under their feet, or had any semblance of a normal childhood? Normal children don't have targets on their backs. His control shattered, voice rising. Normal children don't have people who want to use them as leverage or ransom or worse. You have no idea what's out there, what could happen. You just waltz them through Central Park like this is some goddamn fairy tale where love and fresh air solve everything. Then tell me, Jennifer shouted back, tell me what the actual threat is, instead of just barking orders and expecting blind obedience. Why are they targets? What aren't you telling me? Miller ran both hands through his hair, completely destroying its styled perfection. 6 months ago, a man approached their previous nanny outside this building, offered her $50,000 to look the other way for 5 minutes, just 5 minutes while someone else picked up the children. She refused and reported it immediately. We caught the man, but he wouldn't say who hired him, just kept asking questions about Vivian, about her family, about where the twins were born. Jennifer felt ice slide down her spine. What did the police say? The police said without more evidence, they couldn't do anything. The man lawyered up, claimed it was a misunderstanding. He was out in 48 hours. Miller's hands braced on his desk, his back to her. So, I hired more security. I implemented stricter protocols. I made sure my children were safe, even if it meant keeping them in a cage, as you so eloquently put it. Miller, I didn't know. I'm sorry, I should have asked, but you never explained why. I don't owe you explanations. I owe you a salary, and you owe me compliance with the rules I've established to keep my children alive. He turned, and the rawness in his expression made her chest ache. They're all I have left. Do you understand? Vivienne is gone, my family is gone, everyone I've ever trusted has either left or betrayed me, and those 2 children are the only thing I haven't completely destroyed. I can't lose them. I won't. The pain underneath the anger was so visceral, Jennifer took an involuntary step toward him. You're not going to lose them. You don't know that. You can't promise that. His voice dropped to something rough, broken. Every time I look at them, I see her, and I see that bathtub, and I see how badly I failed to protect her. I can't. I won't fail them too. So you push them away instead. Keep them at arm's length so you don't have to feel it when something goes wrong. Jennifer moved closer, drawn by something she couldn't name. That's not protection, Miller. That's cowardice. His head snapped up, eyes blazing. Excuse me? You heard me. You're so afraid of losing them that you've already lost them. You don't eat with them, don't play with them, don't even look at them most of the time. They're living with a ghost for a father. Get out! The words were deadly quiet. No. Miller was around the desk in 3 strides, suddenly right there, invading her space. I said, get out of my office. And I said no. Fire me if you want, but I'm not leaving until you actually hear what I'm saying. Jennifer refused to back down even though her heart was racing. Those children need you. Not your money, not your security team, not another nanny who'll quit when you become too difficult. They need their father, and you're so busy protecting them from external threats that you don't see you're the one hurting them most. You've been here 3 days. Miller's voice was dangerously soft. And you think you understand my children better than I do? I understand what it's like to have a parent who's physically present but emotionally gone. My father checked out when his addiction took over. I spent years watching him but never having him, and it hollowed me out. Is that what you want for Caspian and Seraphine? To grow up in this beautiful prison with a father who can't even stand to be in the same room? Something flickered across Miller's face, might have been pain or recognition. They were inches apart now, close enough that Jennifer could see the storm in his dark eyes, could feel the heat radiating off his body. You don't know what you're talking about, he said, but the conviction was gone from his tone. Don't I? Then explain why Caspian hasn't spoken in months. Explain why Seraphine has panic attacks when people leave the room. Explain why they both look at you like they're desperate for attention, but terrified to ask for it. Stop! His hands came up to grip her upper arms, not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to make her breath catch. Just stop. Make me, Jennifer challenged, tilting her chin up. The air between them electrified. Miller's grip tightened fractionally, his gaze dropping to her mouth for a fraction of a second before snapping back to her eyes. You're playing a very dangerous game, Miss Leonard. I'm not playing anything. I'm trying to help. Help! His laugh was bitter. Everyone wants to help until they realize how broken I actually am. Then they run. Give it time, Jennifer. You'll run too. I'm not running. I'm right here. She put her hands on his chest, felt his heart hammering under her palms. I'm right here, and I'm not afraid of your broken pieces. Miller stared at her like she was speaking a foreign language, like the concept of someone staying was incomprehensible. His thumbs traced small circles on her arms, the touch sending sparks across her skin. For a moment, Jennifer thought he might kiss her, wanted him to despite every reason that was a terrible idea. Then his phone buzzed, shattering the moment. Miller released her abruptly and stepped back, the walls slamming into place. We're done here. Don't take the children outside these walls again without my explicit permission. Are we clear? The dismissal stung after the intimacy of seconds ago. Jennifer straightened her spine. Crystal clear. Good. I have a call. He was already moving back to his desk, picking up his phone, shutting her out with practiced efficiency. Jennifer left, but paused at the door. For what it's worth, they had the best morning of their lives today. You should have seen Caspian's face when he fed the ducks. She didn't wait for a response, just closed the door quietly behind her and leaned against the hallway wall, trying to calm her racing heart. What the hell had that been? The anger, she understood. But that moment of connection, of heat, the way his hands had felt on her skin, that was dangerous territory she had no business exploring. She found the twins in the playroom with Dax standing guard like they might make a break for freedom. He gave Jennifer a look that clearly said, "I told you so," before leaving them alone. Seraphine ran to Jennifer immediately, throwing small arms around her legs. "Are you in trouble because of us?" the little girl whispered. Jennifer crouched down, gathering both twins close. "No, sweetheart. Your daddy was just worried because he loves you very much. Sometimes when people love us a lot, they get scared and it comes out as anger." "Daddy doesn't love us," Seraphine said matter-of-factly. "Daddy doesn't even like being near us." The casual way she said it, like it was simple truth, broke something in Jennifer's chest. "That's not true. Your daddy loves you so much it scares him." Caspian, still silent, pressed closer to Jennifer's side. She held them both, these beautiful broken children, and made a silent vow. Whatever it took, however long she was here, she would help this family heal. Even if Miller Pierce fought her every step of the way. That night, Jennifer couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the confrontation in Miller's office, the way his hands had felt on her arms, the devastating vulnerability in his eyes when he talked about failing his children. Around 2 a.m, she gave up on rest and padded to the kitchen for tea, wearing sleep shorts and an oversized NYU shirt. She nearly screamed when she found Miller already there, sitting at the island in the dark, a glass of what looked like scotch in front of him. "Sorry," she gasped, hand over her racing heart. "I didn't know anyone was up. Couldn't sleep," he said quietly. He'd changed from his suit into dark pajama pants and a white t-shirt that did things for his shoulders that should probably be illegal. His hair was messed from running his hands through it, and without the armor of his business clothes, he looked younger, more vulnerable. "Me neither," Jennifer admitted, moving to the kettle. "Mind if I make tea? It's your kitchen too." He took a drink, watching her over the rim of his glass. "For the record, I overreacted earlier. You were right that they need fresh air. I need to know when they leave. I need the security measures in place." It was as close to an apology as she was probably going to get. Jennifer filled the kettle and turned to face him. "I'm sorry I didn't ask first. It won't happen again without your permission." Miller nodded, then surprised her by saying, "Caspian spoke. After you put them to bed. Just a few words, but it's the most he's said since Vivian died." Jennifer's breath caught. "What did he say?" "He asked if you were going to leave, like all the others." Miller's jaw tightened. "I didn't know what to tell him." "What did you say?" "That you're here for a year, that you signed a contract." His eyes met hers across the dim kitchen. "But contracts don't mean much when someone's determined to leave." "I'm not leaving, Miller. Not unless you fire me. Everyone leaves eventually. All it takes is time." He said it like a fact, immutable and certain. Jennifer poured her tea and, in a moment of boldness, walked around the island to sit beside him instead of across from him. Close enough to see the exhaustion in his face, the shadows under his eyes. "Why do you assume the worst of everyone?" "Experience." He swirled the scotch in his glass. "My parents died when I was 22. Car accident, sudden and violent. The company I'd just started building almost collapsed. Everyone I thought was my friend turned out to be interested in my potential money or connections, not me. I learned early that people are transactional. They stay as long as you're useful. That's a lonely way to live. It's a realistic way to live." He looked at her then, really looked, and Jennifer felt pinned by the intensity. "You asked me earlier what I want. You want to know the truth?" "Yes. I want to wake up one morning and not feel like I'm drowning. I want to look at my children without seeing my dead wife. I want to trust that someone, anyone, will stay for reasons that have nothing to do with money or obligation." His voice dropped lower, rougher. "And lately, I want you in ways that are completely inappropriate, given our professional relationship." Jennifer's breath stopped. The confession hung between them, dangerous and electric. "Miller." "Wait." He cut her off. "Don't say anything. I'm just tired and the scotch is talking, and we're going to pretend I never said that." He stood abruptly, carrying his glass to the sink. Go to bed, Jennifer. Tomorrow's a new day. But he didn't move past her, just stood there, gripping the counter, his back to her but his shoulders tight with tension. Jennifer should listen, should go back to her room, should maintain every professional boundary that was already blurring. Instead, she stood and walked over to him, close enough to touch. "What if I don't want to pretend you never said it?" she asked softly. Miller's shoulders went rigid. "Then you're even more foolish than I thought." "Maybe I am." Jennifer reached out, placed one hand on his back, felt the muscles jump under her touch. "Or maybe I'm tired of pretending I don't feel it too." He spun so fast she didn't have time to step back, suddenly caged between his body and the counter. His hands braced on either side of her, not touching, but close enough that she could feel the heat of him, smell the scotch on his breath, and that cedar cologne that made her head spin. "Don't play games with me," Miller said, his voice dangerously soft. "I'm not a good man, Jennifer. I'm possessive and demanding, and I will consume you if you let me. Walk away now, while you still can." Jennifer's heart hammered against her ribs. This was insane, reckless, exactly the kind of complication that would destroy the fragile trust she was building with the twins. But looking into Miller's dark eyes, seeing the war between want and control playing across his face, she couldn't make herself care. "What if I don't want to walk away?" she whispered. "Then God help us both." His hand came up to cup her jaw, thumb brushing her bottom lip with devastating gentleness. "Last chance, sweetheart. Tell me to stop." "I don't want you to stop." Miller's control shattered. He kissed her like a man starving, all heat and hunger and barely leashed desperation. Jennifer gasped against his mouth and he swallowed the sound, one hand tangling in her hair, the other gripping her hip to pull her flush against him. She could feel every hard plane of his body, could taste the scotch on his tongue as he claimed her mouth with a thoroughness that made her knees weak. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. Miller rested his forehead against hers, his thumb still tracing patterns on her hip that made coherent thought difficult. "This is a terrible idea," he said, but he didn't let go. "The worst," Jennifer agreed, her hands fisted in his shirt. "You work for me. There's a power imbalance. This breaks every rule of professional conduct. I know. I'm going to want things from you, your time, your attention, your body. I don't share well, Jennifer. If we do this, if we cross this line, you're mine, no one else's." Do you understand what that means? The possessiveness in his tone should terrify her. Instead, heat pooled low in her belly. "I understand. Do you?" His hand slid from her hip to her thigh, fingers tracing the hem of her sleep shorts. "Do you understand that I haven't wanted anyone since Vivian died? That I've been numb for 2 years and you've woken something I thought was gone? That now that I've touched you, I'm going to want to keep touching you?" Jennifer arched into his touch, shameless. "Miller. Say it." His hand stilled, making her whimper. "Say you understand what you're getting into." "I understand. I want this. I want you." She pulled his head down for another kiss, this one even more desperate than the last. Miller groaned into her mouth, lifting her easily to sit on the counter, stepping between her thighs. His hands were everywhere, sliding under her shirt to trace her ribs, her waist higher. Jennifer wrapped her legs around him, trying to get closer, need overriding every rational thought. Then a sound from down the hallway, small and scared. "Jennifer, I had a bad dream." They broke apart like teenagers caught by parents. Seraphine stood at the kitchen entrance in her princess nightgown, clutching her rabbit, tears on her cheeks. Miller stepped back so fast he nearly stumbled, running a hand through his already destroyed hair. Jennifer slid off the counter, trying to calm her racing heart, acutely aware that her lips were probably swollen, her hair a mess. "Coming, sweetheart," she called, her voice only slightly unsteady. She glanced at Miller, whose expression had shuttered back into that controlled mask, though his hands were shaking slightly. "Go," he said quietly. "She needs you." Jennifer wanted to say something, wanted to acknowledge what had just happened, but Seraphine made another small sound of distress, and maternal instinct overrode everything else. She hurried to the little girl, scooping her up. "Let's get you back to bed." "Okay. Tell me about the dream." As she carried Seraphine down the hallway, Jennifer looked back once. Miller stood exactly where she'd left him, watching her with an expression of such longing and regret it made her chest ache. Then he turned away, disappearing into the shadows, and Jennifer was left wondering if they'd just made a huge mistake or started something inevitable. The next morning brought awkwardness Jennifer wasn't equipped to handle. Miller was gone before breakfast, a note on the counter saying he had meetings all day and wouldn't be back until evening. The twins were clingy, Seraphine especially, still unsettled from her nightmare. Jennifer threw herself into caring for them, trying not to think about the taste of Miller's mouth or the way his hands had felt on her skin. Mrs. Dorothy arrived at 9, cheerful and oblivious to the tension. "Mr. Pierce left instructions that you're to take the children out today if you'd like, Miss Leonard. With Dax accompanying you, of course. He's waiting downstairs." So Miller had listened, had changed his protocols based on their argument. The thought made something warm bloom in Jennifer's chest, even as confusion swirled about what they were doing, what last night meant. The park trip with Dax shadowing them was less magical than yesterday's stolen hour, but still good. The twins were more animated, Caspian even tugging Jennifer's hand to show her a interesting rock he'd found. Dax maintained a professional distance, but Jennifer caught him almost smiling when Seraphine's laugh rang out across the playground. They returned to the penthouse, tired and happy, the twins chattering about everything they'd seen. Jennifer made them lunch, supervised quiet time, read stories during the mandated nap period. It was almost normal, almost like being a real family, except for the ghost of Miller's absence and the memory of his hands on her body. He returned at 6:30, just as Jennifer was serving the twins dinner. She heard the elevator, heard his footsteps, felt her whole body tense in anticipation. When Miller appeared in the dining room doorway, still in his suit, his eyes found hers immediately, with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Daddy!" Seraphine scrambled down from her chair, running to him. Miller caught her automatically, his expression softening in a way Jennifer had never seen before. "Hey, Princess, did you have a good day? We went to the park again, and I went on the swings really high, and Caspian found a cool rock, and Jennifer taught us a song about ducks." Miller's gaze flicked to Jennifer over Seraphine's head, something unreadable in his expression. "That sounds wonderful." Caspian had stood from his chair too, but hadn't approached, hovering uncertainly. Miller noticed, setting Seraphine down carefully before crouching to his son's level. "I heard you had something to show me. A special rock?" The fact that he'd been told, that he'd listened, that he was making an effort, made Jennifer's throat tight. Caspian's whole face lit up, and he ran to retrieve his treasure from his pocket. For the next 10 minutes, Miller listened intently to his children talk about their day, actually present in a way Jennifer hadn't seen before. When the twins were occupied with dessert, Miller caught Jennifer's eye and tilted his head toward the hallway. She followed, hyper-aware of his presence behind her, of the privacy, once they were out of the children's earshot. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for this morning, for taking them out, for making them happy. You're welcome. Thank you for trusting me enough to change the rules." They stood in the hallway, the air thick with everything unsaid. Finally Miller spoke, his voice low. "About last night. We don't have to talk about it if you don't want to," Jennifer said, even though she desperately wanted to talk about it. "I think we need to." He ran a hand through his hair, the tell of stress she was learning. "I crossed a line. You work for me, you're here to care for my children, and I took advantage." "You didn't take advantage. I wanted it too. Did you? Or did you feel obligated because I sign your paychecks?" His eyes searched hers. "I need to know. Jennifer, I need to know if you kissed me back because you wanted to, or because I'm your employer and you were afraid to say no." The vulnerability in the question, The genuine concern that he might have coerced her made Jennifer's heart clench. She stepped closer, lowering her voice even more. "Miller, look at me. Really look at me. Do I seem like someone who does anything out of obligation?" A ghost of a smile touched his mouth. "No. You seem like someone who breaks rules when she thinks they're wrong and challenges billionaires in their own homes." "Exactly. So trust me when I say that what happened last night, I wanted it. I want this. Whatever this is." She gestured between them. "But you're right that it's complicated. The twins have to come first. They're already attached to me. And if we end badly, it'll hurt them." Miller was quiet for a long moment, clearly wrestling with something. "What if we try?" he said finally. "Carefully, slowly. See where this goes without rushing or making promises we can't keep. The twins don't need to know, not yet. We keep it between us until we're sure." It was probably the smartest approach, even if part of Jennifer wanted to argue that hiding felt wrong. But he was right about protecting the children. "Okay, we try. Carefully, carefully," Miller echoed. Then, checking that they were still alone, he leaned down and kissed her. Soft this time, controlled, but no less devastating. When he pulled back, his thumb traced her jaw. "I meant what I said last night. I'm not good at casual, Jennifer. If we do this, I'm going to want all of you. That's just who I am. I'm not asking you to be anything other than who you are." His smile was almost sad. "You say that now. Wait until you see all my broken pieces." Before Jennifer could respond, Seraphine called from the dining room. "Jennifer." Caspian spilled his milk. The moment broke. Miller stepped back, his professional mask sliding into place, though his eyes stayed warm when they looked at her. "Duty calls, apparently." Jennifer started back toward the kitchen. The following days fell into a new rhythm. Miller made an effort to be present for the twins, joining breakfast a few times, actually reading bedtime stories instead of hiding in his office. Caspian started speaking in full sentences, hesitant at first, but growing more confident. Seraphine's nightmares decreased. The penthouse felt less like a mausoleum and more like a home. And through it all, Jennifer and Miller danced around each other with a tension that was part torture, part exhilaration. Stolen glances across the breakfast table, his hand lingering on her lower back when he passed her in the hallway. Late-night conversations in the kitchen that always ended with kisses that left them both breathless and wanting. They were careful, so careful, never letting the twins see, keeping everything behind closed doors. But the want, the need, it built like a storm waiting to break. It finally broke 2 weeks later. A freak spring storm rolled into New York with no warning, all howling wind and driving rain that shook even the penthouse windows. The power flickered once, twice, then died completely, plunging everything into darkness before the backup generators kicked in with limited lighting. Mrs. Dorothy called to say she couldn't make it in. The bridges were closed. Dax reported that most of the staff had left early to get home safely. For the first time since Jennifer had arrived, it was just the four of them. A family, isolated by the storm, and something about the forced intimacy felt significant. Jennifer made it an adventure for the twins, building a blanket fort in the living room, telling stories by flashlight when the Wi-Fi went down, and took the television with it. Miller emerged from his office around 6, drawn by the sound of laughter, and stopped in the doorway with an expression of wonder. "Can I join?" he asked, and the hesitation in his voice, the fear that he might be rejected by his own children, broke Jennifer's heart a little. "Daddy has to know the password," Seraphine announced seriously. She'd gotten bolder in recent days, less afraid. "What's the password?" Miller asked, playing along. Caspian whispered something to his sister, both of them giggling. Seraphine grinned. "You have to say, 'I love my silly children, and I'm the best daddy ever.'" Miller's expression cracked, something raw and painful flashing across his face before he gathered himself. When he spoke, his voice was rough. "I love my silly children, and I'm trying very hard to be a good daddy." Close enough, apparently, because both twins tackled him, pulling him into the fort. Jennifer's eyes burned with tears. She blinked back. This was what they all needed. Connection, honesty, love without the walls. They had an impromptu picnic dinner in the fort. Sandwiches and fruit and cookies that Jennifer had baked with the twins that afternoon. Miller was stiff at first, clearly out of practice with this kind of casual family time, but slowly he relaxed. He answered Caspian's endless questions about how storms worked. He helped Seraphine build an elaborate castle out of blocks. He met Jennifer's eyes across the blanket fort and smiled, a real smile that transformed his entire face. After the twins were asleep, tucked into their beds with extra nightlights because of the storm, Jennifer and Miller found themselves alone in the living room. The storm still raged outside, rain lashing the windows, wind howling like something alive. The emergency lighting cast everything in soft shadows, intimate and isolating. "Thank you," Miller said, breaking the comfortable silence. "For today, for making it magic instead of scary." "They're resilient, you all are." Jennifer curled into the corner of the couch, watching him. He'd abandoned his suit jacket and tie hours ago, his white shirt unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled up. Casual looked good on him. Miller poured 2 glasses of wine from a bottle he'd retrieved from somewhere, handed her one before sitting. Not across from her, but right beside her, close enough that their thighs touched. "I used to be terrified of storms," he admitted. "As a kid, my mother would sit with me, and we'd count between the lightning and thunder, turn it into a game. That's sweet. I haven't thought about that in years. Not since she died." He took a drink. Funny how grief works. You pack it away so carefully, and then something small, like a storm or a child's laugh, and it all comes rushing back. Jennifer set down her wine and took his hand, threading their fingers together. "Talk to me about her. About Vivienne. About what actually happened. Would you want to know all the painful details if you were Jennifer? Or would some mysteries be better left buried?" Miller was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "I met Vivienne at a tech conference 5 years ago. She was working registration, completely out of place among all the programmers and investors. Beautiful, but more than that, she seemed lost, afraid. During a break, I found her crying in a stairwell. She wouldn't tell me what was wrong, just that she needed to disappear, needed to be someone else." He paused, staring at their joined hands. "I was building the company, needed good optics, needed to seem stable and settled to attract investors. So I made her an offer. Marriage, protection, whatever she was running from. In exchange, she'd play the role of devoted wife, help me navigate the social requirements of my new position. It was supposed to be business. But it wasn't," Jennifer said softly. "Not entirely. I grew to care for her, as a friend. When she told me she was pregnant, that the father was dangerous and she was terrified, I offered to adopt the babies. Give them my name, my protection. We made it legal, binding. As far as the world knows, Caspian and Seraphine are mine biologically. So who's their real dad? Do you know him?" Jennifer asked. "Their father is a man named Ronan Castellano, Vivienne's second cousin. The family is complicated. Old money, mixed with new criminal enterprises. Relationships like theirs were forbidden, too close genetically, bad for the family image. When Vivienne got pregnant, they wanted her to terminate. She ran instead. The pieces were clicking into place. And Ronan wants them back. Ronan wants what he believes belongs to him, his children, his legacy. Never mind that he's a sociopath who would use them as pawns in whatever criminal enterprise he's currently running." Miller's hand tightened on hers. "Vivienne lived in fear for 3 years. We were careful, had security, changed names, kept low profiles. But somehow, someone found out where we were. I came home 2 years ago and found her in the bathtub, drowned. The twins were in their cribs, crying, diapers soaked. They'd been alone with her body for hours." "Oh, Miller." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. The police ruled it accidental, postpartum depression, they said, suggested she'd taken sleeping pills and fallen asleep in the bath, but I knew someone had killed her, made it look like an accident. I've spent 2 years investigating, working with the FBI, trying to prove it. That man who approached our nanny 6 months ago, we traced him back to the Castellano family. They're circling Jennifer, testing our defenses, waiting for an opening. The weight of it, the danger he'd been carrying alone, made Jennifer understand his paranoia. That's why you keep the twins locked away. Yes, that's why I can't afford mistakes. That's why I panicked when you took them to the park. Not because I'm controlling, but because one photograph in the wrong hands, one slip in security, and I could lose them forever. His voice cracked. They're all I have, and I'm terrified every single day that I'm not enough to keep them safe. Jennifer shifted, moving into his lap, wrapping her arms around him. Miller held her like she was a lifeline, his face pressed into her neck. They sat like that for long minutes, the storm raging outside, the weight of his confession settling between them. "You're not alone anymore," Jennifer whispered. "You have me. We'll protect them together." Miller pulled back enough to look at her, his eyes suspiciously bright. "You realize what you're signing up for? This isn't just complicated, Jennifer. It's dangerous. If the Castellanos figure out you matter to me, you become a target too. Then I'll be a target. I'm not going anywhere. You should. You should run while you still can. Find a nice, normal man with a nice, normal life and be safe and happy and far away from this mess. Is that what you want? For me to run? No." The word was fierce, possessive. "God help me. No. I want you to stay. I want you here, with me, with them. I want to fall asleep with you in my arms and wake up with you in my bed and show those children what an actual family looks like." His hand cupped her face. "I want you, Jennifer. All of you, for as long as you let me have you." "Then have me," Jennifer breathed. "I'm right here. I'm yours." Miller's control, already frayed, snapped completely. He kissed her with a desperation that stole her breath, his hands in her hair, on her back, pulling her closer. Jennifer met him with equal hunger, fingers working the buttons of his shirt, needing to feel skin, needing more. Miller said against her throat, even as his hands slid under her shirt, "Tell me this is moving too fast, and we should slow down." "Don't you dare stop," Jennifer demanded, echoing her words from their first kiss. Miller's laugh was low and dark. "Yes, ma'am." He stood, lifting her easily, her legs wrapping around his waist. "Where are we going?" "My room. Because when I finally get you naked, I want you spread out on my bed where I can take my time mapping every inch of you." His voice was pure sin, rough with promise. "And I'm going to take my time, sweetheart. I'm going to make you forget every man who came before me. Make you scream my name so loud the whole building knows who you belong to." Heat flooded through Jennifer's entire body. That's quite a claim." "Not a claim, a promise." Miller carried her down the hallway, kicking his bedroom door shut behind them. "I told you I don't share well. By the time this night is over, you're going to be mine in every way that matters. Do you understand?" Jennifer should probably object to the possessiveness, to the arrogant certainty in his tone. Instead, she pulled his mouth back to hers. "I dare you." Miller's eyes went dark with want. "Oh, sweetheart, you're going to regret that challenge." He laid her on his bed, following her down, and Jennifer discovered she didn't regret it even a little. Not when his hands and mouth mapped her skin like he was memorizing her. Not when he whispered filthy promises against her ear that made her blush and arch into him. Not when he made good on every single promise, until she did scream his name, her nails raking down his back, pleasure crashing through her in waves. After, tangled in expensive sheets, Miller's fingers tracing lazy patterns on her bare shoulder, Jennifer felt fundamentally changed. This wasn't just attraction or chemistry. This was something deeper, more dangerous, more real. "I'm falling in love with you." Miller said into the darkness, his voice vulnerable. I know it's too soon. I know I shouldn't say it, but I need you to know. This isn't casual for me. You're not just the nanny or a convenient arrangement. You're everything. Jennifer turned in his arms, meeting his eyes. I'm falling in love with you too, with all of you. The broken parts and the beautiful parts and everything in between. Miller kissed her softly, reverently. I don't deserve you. Good thing I don't care about what you deserve. I care about what I want, and I want this. I want us. They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, the storm still raging outside, but unable to touch the peace they'd found in each other's arms. Jennifer woke to pale dawn light and an empty bed. Panic seized her for a second before she heard the shower running. Miller's shower. She was in Miller's room, in Miller's bed, and the memories of the night before made her skin flush hot. She stretched, pleasantly sore in interesting places, and noticed a piece of paper on the pillow beside her. Miller's handwriting, bold and efficient. Had to shower and check on a few things. Don't leave. I'm not done with you yet. Coffee is on the nightstand. The door is locked so the twins won't accidentally walk in. Stay in my bed until I get back. I like knowing you're here, warm and naked and mine. Jennifer's whole body heated at the possessive command. She shouldn't find it sexy, should probably object to being ordered around, but there was something about Miller's particular brand of dominance, the way he balanced it with care and vulnerability, that worked for her in ways she didn't fully understand. She was sipping the coffee, perfectly prepared the way she liked it, when the bathroom door opened and Miller emerged in nothing but a towel around his hips. Water droplets still clung to his chest, his hair wet and messy, and Jennifer forgot how to breathe. He was gorgeous, all lean muscle and controlled power, and the way he looked at her, like she was the only thing in the world that mattered, made her feel powerful and desired and completely his. You didn't follow instructions, Miller said, nodding at the coffee cup. I told you to stay in bed. Technically, I am in bed. I'm just sitting up. Loopholes. Already. I'm going to have to be more specific with my commands. He prowled toward the bed with predatory grace. Lie down, Jennifer. Her pulse jumped. What if I don't want to? Miller's smile was slow and devastating. Then I'll make you, and we'll both enjoy it. Challenge accepted. Jennifer set down the coffee cup with exaggerated care, then looked at him with pure defiance. Make me. The towel hit the floor. Miller was on her in seconds, pinning her to the bed, his mouth on hers, swallowing her laughter. You're going to be trouble, aren't you? Probably, Jennifer admitted, running her hands over his broad shoulders. Are you complaining? Never. He kissed her again, slow and thorough. I have about an hour before the twins wake up. I intend to spend every minute reminding you exactly who you belong to. He made good on that promise too, until Jennifer was boneless and satisfied and absolutely certain that falling for Miller Pierce was the best, worst decision of her life. Later, showered and dressed in yesterday's clothes, Jennifer snuck back to her own room to change before the twins woke. She was grinning like an idiot, replaying every moment, when her phone buzzed with a text. Miller, missing you already. Tonight? My room again? Jennifer, bossy. Miller, you love it. Say yes. Jennifer, yes. Miller, good girl. Now go make my children breakfast and try not to blush every time you think about what I did to you last night, although watching you blush might be entertaining. Jennifer, you're impossible. Miller, and you're mine. Don't forget it. She wouldn't. Couldn't. Even if she wanted to. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of stolen moments and careful deception. During the day, Jennifer was the professional nanny, caring for Caspian and Seraphine with growing love and confidence. The twins were blossoming under the combined attention of both her and Miller, who had committed to being more present. Caspian spoke in full paragraphs now, his vocabulary expanding daily. Seraphine's nightmares had stopped almost completely, replaced by peaceful sleep and sunny morning temperaments. But the nights, The nights belonged to Miller and Jennifer alone. After the twins were asleep, after the penthouse went quiet, Jennifer would slip into Miller's room and discover new ways to be consumed by him. He was insatiable, demanding, possessive in ways that should probably concern her, but instead made her feel cherished and wanted and utterly his. He learned her body like he approached everything else, with intense focus and ruthless efficiency, cataloguing what made her gasp, what made her beg, what made her come apart in his arms. And he talked. God! The man had a mouth on him that could reduce her to a puddle with words alone. He'd whisper filthy promises against her skin while his hands worked magic, tell her exactly what he planned to do to her in that low, commanding voice that made her core clench with want. Afterward, tangled in sheets that cost more than her former monthly rent, he'd hold her close and share pieces of himself he'd kept locked away. Stories about his parents, about building his company from nothing, about the loneliness of success without anyone to share it with. They were falling, both of them, faster and harder than was probably wise. It was a Wednesday morning, 4 weeks into her employment and 3 weeks into whatever they were calling this relationship, when Jennifer's carefully constructed routine shattered. She'd woken early in Miller's bed as usual, pressed against his warm body, his arm locked around her waist, even in sleep, like he was afraid she'd disappear. He'd made love to her slowly, thoroughly, until she was breathless and clinging to him, then kissed her senseless before reluctantly letting her sneak back to her own room before the twins woke. Breakfast was cheerful chaos. Seraphine wanted pancakes shaped like butterflies. Caspian insisted on helping mix the batter and got flour everywhere. Miller joined them, tie already perfectly knotted, but his hair still slightly mussed in a way that made Jennifer's stomach flip because she knew she'd been the one to mess it up an hour ago. Their eyes met across the kitchen island, and the heat in his gaze made her blush. Jennifer's, turning red, Caspian announced helpfully. "Are you sick?" "Just warm from the stove, buddy," Jennifer managed, shooting Miller a look that clearly said, "Behave." His slow smile was pure wickedness. He knew exactly what he was doing to her. "Perhaps you should cool down, take a break. I can supervise breakfast." "You don't cook," Jennifer pointed out. "I can pour cereal with the best of them. Besides, I should spend more time with my children without their very attractive nanny as a buffer." The way he said attractive, low and intimate, made it clear he was thinking about exactly how attractive he'd found her a few hours ago. Jennifer escaped to her room on shaky legs, partly to compose herself, and partly because Miller was right that the twins needed one-on-one time with their father. She showered, changed. He tried to focus on editing some photographs on her laptop, but kept getting distracted by memories of Miller's hands, his mouth, the way he'd said, "You're so perfect for me, sweetheart," so perfect while moving inside her. She was completely gone for this man, utterly, irrevocably in love with him, and the realization was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. Around 10, her phone buzzed with a message. Miller, of course. "The twins are with Mrs. Dorothy in the playroom. Meet me in my office in 5 minutes. And Jennifer? Don't make me wait." The command in those last 4 words sent heat pooling low in her belly. She shouldn't be this affected by his bossiness, but apparently her body had other ideas. She checked her appearance, smoothed her hair, and headed to Miller's office with her pulse already racing. He was waiting behind his desk, still in his full suit, looking every inch the powerful CEO. The door clicked shut behind Jennifer, and he stood, moving around the desk with predatory grace. "Lock it," he said quietly. Jennifer's hand was already moving to the deadbolt before her brain caught up. "Miller, we can't. Not during the day. What if someone needs something? Then they can knock. Lock the door, Jennifer." She obeyed, arousal and anticipation making her fingers clumsy. When she turned back, Miller was right there, caging her against the door with his body, not quite touching but close enough that she could feel his heat. "Do you know what you do to me?" he asked, his voice rough. Sitting across from you at breakfast, watching you with my children, knowing that last night I had you in my bed, making those sweet sounds while I was buried inside you. It's torture. Beautiful, perfect torture. Jennifer's breath caught. We agreed to keep things professional during the day. We did. And I'm trying, sweetheart. I'm trying so damn hard. But then you blush when I look at you, and I want to make you blush everywhere. I want to strip you naked right here in my office and remind you who you belong to. His hand came up to cup her face, thumb tracing her bottom lip. Tell me you don't want that too. Tell me I'm alone in this madness. You're not alone, Jennifer admitted, her hands fisting in his shirt. I can't stop thinking about you either. Miller's eyes darkened with satisfaction. Good, because I have a proposition for you. I'm listening. Tonight, I have a business dinner I can't cancel. Investors from Tokyo, very important, very boring. I'll be gone until at least 11. His thumb continued its maddening exploration of her mouth. I want you to wait for me, in my bed, wearing nothing but this. He pulled a small box from his pocket, flipped it open. Inside was a delicate necklace, a simple pendant on a platinum chain. The pendant was engraved with a single letter, M. Jennifer's heart stuttered. Miller, I can't accept this, it's too much. It's not nearly enough. I want you wearing my initial. I want anyone who sees you to know you're mine. He pulled the necklace from the box, moved behind her to fasten it around her throat. His fingers brushed her nape, sending shivers down her spine. There. Perfect. Don't take it off, Jennifer. Wear it always. So even when we're being professional, you remember who you belong to. The possessiveness should be a red flag, some distant part of Jennifer's brain insisted, but the larger part, the part completely intoxicated by this man, loved it. Loved being claimed, being wanted with this intensity. Okay, she whispered. Miller turned her around, his hands gripping her hips. Okay, what? Okay, I'll wait for you. I'll be in your bed. Wearing nothing but my necklace, he prompted, his voice dropping even lower. Wearing nothing but your necklace, Jennifer repeated, her face flaming. That's my good girl. He kissed her then, deep and claiming, a promise of what was to come tonight. When he pulled back, they were both breathing hard. Now get out of here before I forget my meetings and take you on this desk right now. Jennifer fled, but not before seeing his satisfied smirk. The man was going to kill her with want, and she'd probably thank him for it. The rest of the day dragged. Jennifer took the twins to the building's private gym for some exercise, then to the rooftop garden where they could run around safely within the secured perimeter Miller had approved. She made lunch, supervised quiet time, read stories, played elaborate games of pretend involving dragons and princesses and brave knights. Through it all, she was hyper-aware of the necklace resting against her skin. Miller's claim in platinum and possession. Miller left for his dinner at 6, kissing the twins goodbye, and then, when Mrs. Dorothy wasn't looking, pressing a quick, hard kiss to Jennifer's mouth that tasted like promise and heat. Remember, he murmured against her lips. My bed, nothing else. Jennifer nodded, not trusting her voice. After the twins were asleep, she showered and tried to read, but couldn't focus. 10 o'clock came and went. 10:30. At 10:45, Jennifer gave up pretending she wasn't going to do exactly what Miller had commanded and headed to his room. She'd been in here dozens of times now, but it still felt intimate in a way that made her pulse race. Everything smelled like him, cedar and expensive cologne, and something uniquely Miller. Jennifer stripped off her clothes, folded them neatly because she was apparently incapable of being unself-conscious, even when following explicit seduction instructions, and slipped between his sheets, wearing only the necklace. The platinum was warm against her skin, a constant reminder of his possession. She touched it absently, wondering how she'd gotten here, how she'd gone from broke art student to lying naked in a billionaire's bed waiting for him to come home and... What had he said? Remind her who she belonged to? 11 o'clock passed. Then 11:15. Jennifer was starting to drift, the exhaustion of chasing toddlers all day catching up with her when she heard the penthouse elevator. Footsteps in the hallway, purposeful and quick. The bedroom door opened and Miller stood there, still in his suit, but with his jacket gone and his tie loosened, looking at her in his bed with an expression of such raw hunger it stole her breath. "You're here," he said, his voice rough. "You told me to be. And you listened. My perfect, obedient girl." He crossed to the bed, sitting on the edge to remove his shoes with economical movements. "Do you know what I thought about all through that dinner? While men in expensive suits talked about profit margins and market shares." Jennifer shook her head, suddenly unable to speak. Miller's hands went to his tie, slowly pulling it free. "I thought about you. Right here, naked and waiting for me, wearing my necklace and nothing else." The tie joined his jacket on the floor. "I thought about all the ways I'm going to make you scream my name tonight, how I'm going to taste every inch of you until you're begging me to let you come." Heat flooded through Jennifer's entire body. Miller's hands moved to his shirt buttons, undressing with maddening slowness while his eyes devoured her. "You're wearing my initial," he continued, his gaze locked on the necklace. "Marked as mine. Do you like that, sweetheart? Being claimed?" "Yes," Jennifer admitted, beyond pretending otherwise. "Good. Because I'm a possessive bastard, and I'm going to want more. More of your time, more of your trust, more of you." His shirt hit the floor. "Tell me if I'm moving too fast. Tell me if I'm too much." "You're not too much. You're everything." Miller's control visibly cracked. He was on her in seconds, covering her body with his mouth claiming hers with desperate hunger. "Mine," he growled against her lips. "Say it." "Yours," Jennifer gasped. "I'm yours, Miller." The night became a blur of sensation and heat and pleasure so intense it bordered on overwhelming. Miller made good on every promise, learning her body with the same ruthless focus he applied to everything, driving her to the edge again and again until she was a trembling, oversensitized mess begging for release. And when he finally gave it to her, when he buried himself inside her and whispered, "I love you," against her throat, Jennifer came apart completely, taking him with her into bliss. After, wrapped in his arms while their heartbeats slowly returned to normal, Miller pressed a kiss to her temple. "Move in here. Officially. Stop sneaking back to your room every morning. I want to fall asleep with you and wake up with you." Jennifer's heart clenched. "What about the twins?" "They'll have questions. Then we'll answer them. Age appropriately, but honestly. I'm tired of hiding this, Jennifer. I want them to know you're not just their nanny. You're going to be more. If you want to be." The careful vulnerability in his voice made her throat tight. "I want to be. But Miller, we've only been together a few weeks. Isn't it too soon to be making big declarations?" "Probably. I don't care. I've spent 2 years barely existing, going through motions, and then you showed up with your camera and your conscience, and you brought me back to life. I'm not interested in slow or cautious. I want you here, with me, building something real." He pulled back enough to meet her eyes. "I'm in love with you, Jennifer Leonard. Completely, irrevocably in love with you. And I think you love me too." "I do," she whispered. "I love you, even though you're bossy and possessive and you drive me crazy." His smile was brilliant. "Especially because I'm bossy and possessive and I drive you crazy. Admit it." Jennifer laughed, despite the tears threatening to fall. "Maybe especially because of those things. Then move in here, make it official. Let me wake up every morning with you in my arms, where you belong." "Okay," Jennifer said, and watched his whole face transform with joy. "Okay, yes, I'll move in." Miller kissed her like she'd given him the world, and maybe she had. Or maybe they'd given each other the world, built something beautiful out of broken pieces and second chances. They fell asleep, tangled together. The storm of want settled into something softer, but no less powerful. Jennifer's last thought before drifting off was that she'd never been happier, never felt more safe and loved and home. She should have known it couldn't last. The next morning, still glowing from Miller's acceptance and love, Jennifer woke to an empty bed and a note. Emergency meeting. Had to leave early. Didn't want to wake you. Help yourself to anything in my closet if you want to wear my shirt to breakfast. I'd enjoy seeing you in my clothes. Love you, M. Jennifer smiled at the note, at the casual intimacy of it, and did exactly what he suggested. She pulled on one of his white dress shirts, the fabric soft and smelling like him, hanging to mid-thigh on her smaller frame. With the sleeves rolled up and nothing underneath but the necklace, she felt decadent and claimed and ridiculously happy. The twins were still asleep, so Jennifer had the penthouse to herself for a rare, quiet hour. She made coffee, answered some emails from her professors about her nearly completed thesis, edited a few photographs. Around 8:30, she heard small footsteps and turned to find Caspian padding into the kitchen in his dinosaur pajamas. "Morning, buddy. You're up early." "Couldn't sleep," Caspian said, climbing onto a bar stool. "Is that Daddy's shirt?" Jennifer glanced down, suddenly aware of how this might look. Yes. I spilled coffee on mine and borrowed one of his. Is that okay?" Caspian studied her with serious eyes that were far too perceptive for a 3-year-old. "You were in Daddy's room. I saw you going in there last night when I got up for water." Oh no. Jennifer's mind raced for an age-appropriate explanation that wasn't a complete lie. "Your dad and we're friends. Good friends. Sometimes friends spend time together. Are you going to be my new mommy?" The question, delivered with such casual hope, made Jennifer's heart stop. That's Caspian. That's a very big question. I heard Daddy tell Seraphine that you might stay with us forever. That you're special. Does that mean you'll be our mummy?" His expression was so hopeful, so fragile, that Jennifer wanted to cry. Before she could formulate an answer, Seraphine appeared, dragging her stuffed rabbit. "What's happening? Why does Jennifer look sad?" "I'm not sad, sweetheart. Just surprised. Your brother asked me a big question. Are you staying forever?" Seraphine asked immediately, because apparently the twins had been discussing this. "Please say yes. We love you. And Daddy loves you. I can tell because he smiles now and he didn't used to." Jennifer crouched down to their level, taking both their small hands. "I love you both. Very much. And I love your daddy. But grown-up relationships are complicated, and we're still figuring things out. What I can promise is that I'm not going anywhere right now. I'm here, and I'm happy to be here with you." "But what about later?" Caspian pressed. "The other nannies always left. I'm not like the other nannies." "Because you love us for real," Seraphine said matter-of-factly. "Not because Daddy pays you." The simple truth of it, from a 3-year-old's mouth, made Jennifer's eyes burn. "Yes, exactly. I love you for real." That seemed to satisfy them, at least temporarily. Jennifer made breakfast and tried not to think about how terrifying it was that these children were already counting on her to stay, already seeing her as a permanent fixture. She and Miller needed to have a serious conversation about boundaries and timelines and what they were actually building here. That conversation would have to wait, though, because Miller didn't return until early evening, walking in looking exhausted and frustrated in a way she'd never seen before. "Bad day?" Jennifer asked, having just finished dinner with the twins. "Long day. Is there coffee? I'll make some. Go say hi to your children. They missed you." Miller managed to smile for Caspian and Seraphine, listening to their excited recap of the day, but Jennifer could see the tension in his shoulders, the tight set of his jaw. Something was wrong, more than just a difficult meeting. After the twins were in bed, Jennifer found Miller in his office, staring at multiple computer screens with an intensity that bordered on obsessive. She knocked softly on the open door. "Can I come in?" Miller glanced up, and his expression softened when he saw her. "Always." "Close the door?" Jennifer did. then moved to stand behind his desk chair, her hands going to his shoulders to massage the knots she could feel there. Want to talk about it? There was another incident. Different nanny, different family, but same pattern. Someone approached her in Central Park, asked questions about the children she was watching, offered money for information. His hands clenched on the armrests. It's escalating. They're getting bolder. They, the Castellano family. That's my assumption. The FBI is investigating, but they move slowly, need evidence, warrants. Meanwhile, my children are targets, and I'm supposed to just wait and trust the system. The frustration in his voice was palpable. Jennifer's hands stilled. Is there something I should know? Some new protocol? I'm considering moving us out of the city, somewhere more isolated, easier to secure. Maybe the Hamptons house, maybe father. I don't know yet. He reached up to cover one of her hands with his. I'm sorry. This isn't what you signed up for. Hey, look at me. Jennifer moved around the chair to perch on his desk, forcing him to meet her eyes. I signed up for you. For them. Whatever that entails. If we need to move, we'll move. If we need more security, we'll get more security. We'll figure it out together. Miller's expression cracked, relief and love flooding his features. He pulled her into his lap, burying his face against her neck. I don't deserve you. Stop saying that. You deserve happiness just like anyone else. Jennifer ran her fingers through his hair, the gesture soothing for both of them. But Miller, we need to talk about the twins. He tensed. What about them? Caspian saw me going into your room last night, and they both asked me this morning if I was going to be their new mummy. Miller pulled back to look at her. What did you tell them? That I love them and I love you, but that grown-up relationships are complicated and we're figuring it out. Was that okay? It was perfect. He cupped her face with both hands. For the record, I would very much like you to be their new mother. Legally, officially, permanently. But I'm trying not to rush you, even though every instinct I have is screaming at me to lock you down before you realize you could do better. Jennifer's heart swelled. There is no better, you idiot. But maybe we could slow down just a tiny bit. We've known each other 5 weeks. 5 weeks, 2 days, and... He checked his watch. Approximately 7 hours. But who's counting? You're ridiculous. I'm in love. There's a difference. He kissed her softly. But you're right. We'll slow down, take our time, do this properly. Which means I should probably take you on an actual date instead of just seducing you in my bed every night. I like the seducing. Oh, the seducing will continue. But maybe also some romancing. Dinner, flowers, the full courting experience. His hands slid to her hips, pulling her closer. I want to do this right, Jennifer. You deserve to be wooed. Wooed? Did you seriously just say wooed? I did. And I'm not taking it back. You're going to be courted and wooed and thoroughly convinced that I'm the best choice you could possibly make. Jennifer laughed, kissing him to shut him up. I'm already convinced, you possessive, romantic disaster of a man. Your possessive, romantic disaster, he corrected, then proceeded to show her exactly how possessive he could be until she forgot why she'd ever thought slowing down was a good idea. It was later, much later, when they were tangled in his sheets again and Jennifer was drifting toward sleep, that she noticed the slight glow from Miller's computer across the room. He'd left it on, multiple windows open, and from this angle she could see what looked like police reports, photographs, documents. Miller? What is all that on your computer? His arm tightened around her. Work stuff. Don't worry about it. It looks like an investigation. Silence. Then, because it is. I've been compiling evidence for 2 years. Everything related to Vivienne's death, the Castellano family, the threats against the twins. The FBI has their case, but I have mine too. I'm not leaving their safety to chance. Jennifer propped herself up on one elbow, studying his profile in the darkness. Can I see? Jennifer. It's not. Some of it is disturbing. Crime scene photos, autopsy reports. I don't want that in your head. I'm not fragile. And if I'm going to be part of this family, part of your life, I need to understand the full picture. Please, Miller, trust me with this. He was quiet for a long moment, clearly wrestling with the desire to protect her from the ugliness versus his need to share the burden he'd been carrying alone. Finally, he sighed. Okay, but not tonight. Tomorrow, when you're rested and we have time to go through it properly, some of it you need context for. Tomorrow, Jennifer agreed, settling back against his chest. But sleep evaded her. She kept thinking about that computer, about secrets still locked away, about the locked room she'd seen but never entered. Miller had shared so much, but there were still pieces he kept hidden. And maybe tomorrow, she'd finally see all of them. Tomorrow came with spring sunshine and Seraphine bouncing on their bed at 7 in the morning, giggling when she found both Jennifer and her father there together. "I knew it," the little girl crowed. "Caspian owes me his chocolate milk at lunch. I told him Jennifer was sleeping in Daddy's room now." Miller groaned, pulling a pillow over his face. "It's too early for negotiations with tiny humans." "Daddy, you said a bad word yesterday," Caspian heard. "That's another chocolate milk for me. I'm being extorted by a 3-year-old, Miller muttered, but Jennifer could hear the smile in his voice. "Extortion at 3. She's definitely your daughter." Jennifer tickled Seraphine, who shrieked with laughter and squirmed away. They had breakfast as a family, the twins completely unbothered by the new sleeping arrangements, in fact delighted by them. Mrs. Dorothy arrived and raised an eyebrow at Jennifer wearing Miller's shirt, but said nothing, just smiled knowingly and went about her work. Dax came by for a security briefing, and his expression shuttered when he saw the domestic scene, though Jennifer couldn't read what emotion he was hiding. After the twins were settled with Mrs. Dorothy for their morning activities, Miller took Jennifer's hand. "Come on. I'll show you the room." The locked room. Jennifer's pulse jumped as Miller led her down the hallway to the door that had always been sealed. He pulled a key from his pocket, hesitated with his hand on the lock. "Once you see this, you can't unsee it. Are you sure?" "I'm sure." The lock clicked. The door swung open, and Jennifer stepped into Vivian Pierce's preserved world. It wasn't a shrine like she'd half expected. It was an office, or had been. Now it was something between a memorial and a war room. One wall was covered in photographs, news clippings, printouts of articles. The Castellano family tree sprawled across a corkboard, names and faces connected by red string like something from a crime thriller. Another wall held a timeline, starting 5 years ago and ending with Vivian's death, every significant event marked and annotated. "Jesus, Miller," Jennifer breathed. "I know. It's obsessive. But I needed to understand, needed to piece together what happened." He moved to the desk, which was covered in file folders, each labeled and organized. "This is everything I've collected. Vivian's background, the Castellano family business, connections to organized crime, witness statements from the night she died, autopsy reports, everything." Jennifer moved closer to the wall of photographs. Vivian had been beautiful, delicate features and dark hair, but there was something haunted in her eyes, even in candid shots. "Tell me about her, the real her, not the business arrangement version." Miller leaned against the desk, arms crossed. She was terrified constantly. Jumped at loud noises, checked over her shoulder, had nightmares almost every night. But she was also kind, funny, when she let herself relax. She loved painting, had real talent. The twins have her creativity. Did you love her? Not romantically. But I cared about her deeply. She was my friend, my responsibility. And I failed her. His jaw clenched. "I came home that Tuesday afternoon, had left work early because she'd called, said she wasn't feeling well, asked if I could watch the twins. When I got here, the penthouse was silent, too silent. I found the twins in their cribs, both screaming, diapers soaked. They'd been crying so long they were hoarse." Jennifer's hand went to her mouth. Vivienne was in the master bathroom, in the tub. The water was cold. She'd been dead for hours, and our children had been alone with her body, terrified and neglected, and... His voice cracked. The police said she'd taken sleeping pills, fallen asleep in the bath, and drowned. Accidental death. But Vivienne didn't take baths, Jennifer. She was terrified of deep water, always showered. And the pills they found in her system, she didn't have a prescription for those. Someone gave them to her, Jennifer said quietly. Someone drugged her, put her in that tub, held her under until she stopped breathing, then left my children alone to suffer. The rage in his voice was ice cold. And the police bought the suicide narrative because it was easier than investigating. Depressed, new mother, history of anxiety. It fit their profile. But you investigated. I hired the best private investigators money could buy. And we found things, inconsistencies. The timeline didn't match. Vivienne had a lunch meeting that day, was seen alive and well at 2 p.m. I found her at 5. The medical examiner estimated time of death around 3:30. But the doorman never logged anyone coming up to the penthouse between 2 and 5, except residents and staff. Jennifer's mind raced. So it was someone with access, someone who belonged here. Exactly, which means someone on my staff, or someone who knew how to bypass security. Miller moved to the timeline wall. 3 months before she died, Vivienne told me she thought she was being followed. I increased security, but she insisted it was someone she knew. Someone from her past. She was going to tell me who, but she kept putting it off, said she needed proof first. Did she have proof? Did she leave anything? Miller's expression darkened. The day she died, she left me a voicemail. I was in meetings, didn't check my phone until after I'd found her. By then, it was too late. He pulled out his phone, pulled up a saved audio file. Listen, Vivienne's voice filled the room, shaky and afraid. Miller, it's me. I figured out who it was, who's been watching me. I have proof, real proof. I'm going to scan the documents and send them to you, but if anything happens, if I just know that I was right. They found me. The family found me. And I think someone close to you is working for them. I'm so sorry. I should have told you the truth about everything, about who I really am. If anything happens to me, protect the twins. Don't let them find out the truth about their father. Keep them safe. I'm so sore. The message cut off abruptly. Jennifer's blood ran cold. She never sent the documents. I tore this place apart looking for them, checked her computer, her phone, her email. Nothing. Either she never scanned them, or someone deleted them before I could find them. Miller's hands clenched. But that message tells me everything. Someone close to me, someone I trust, is working for the Castellanos, has been for years, and they killed Vivienne to keep her quiet. The implications crashed over Jennifer like a wave. You think someone on your current staff is involved? I don't know. I've investigated everyone, background checks, financial records, looking for any connection to the Castellano family. Dax has been with me for 4 years, Mrs. Dorothy for 6. The rest of the staff are newer, hired after Vivienne died. But someone, somewhere, is feeding information to people who want my children. Jennifer moved to the family tree on the wall, studying the names and connections. The Castellano empire was vast, tentacles reaching into legitimate businesses and shadowy enterprises. At the center was Ronan Castellano, the twins' biological father, his photo showing a handsome man in his 30s with cold eyes. Tell me about him. About Ronan. Miller's voice went flat. Ronan Castellano is the heir apparent to the family business, brilliant, ruthless, and completely devoid of conscience. He and Vivienne grew up together, second cousins, close enough that a relationship was forbidden by family law. They didn't care. Started an affair when Vivienne was 20, kept it secret for 2 years. When she got pregnant, the family ordered her to terminate. Ronan agreed with them, but she ran instead. She ran, disappeared into witness protection, changed her name from Victoria Castellano to Vivienne Winters, took a job at that tech conference where I met her. She thought she was safe, but you can't really hide from a family like that. They have resources, connections. It was only a matter of time before they found her. And when they did, they killed her. Jennifer turned from the wall to face Miller. So why haven't they taken the twins? If Ronan wanted his children, wanted his heirs, why just watch and threaten? Why not take them? Miller's smile was grim. Because I made sure they couldn't. The day after Vivian died, I adopted Caspian and Seraphine. Legal, binding, complete with DNA evidence that I submitted to the court showing I'd been involved in their conception. Jennifer's eyes widened. You faked DNA results? I paid very well to have results that showed what I needed them to show. As far as any legal authority is concerned, I am their biological father. Ronan would have to prove paternity, and to do that, he'd have to explain how he knows they're his children, which would require admitting to the illegal relationship with Vivian and potentially exposing family secrets. Miller's expression was fierce. He's trapped. He can't claim them without destroying himself, but he can make my life hell trying. The pieces were falling into place. So the threats, the watching, it's all intimidation. He wants you to slip up, to give him an opening, or he wants me dead. If I die without a will or with custody reverting to biological relatives, he could make a case. That's why I have everything legally airtight. If anything happens to me, custody goes to my sister in California, not to blood relatives of the children. He rubbed his face, exhaustion showing through. It's a chess game, and we're all pieces. I'm just trying to keep my children safe until I can find enough evidence to put Ronan away for good. What does the FBI say? They've been building a RICO case against the Castellano family for 3 years. Organized crime, racketeering, money laundering, the works. But it's slow, careful work. They want an airtight case. Meanwhile, my children are in danger, and I'm supposed to just wait. The frustration was palpable. Jennifer moved to him, taking his hands. So we don't wait. We investigate ourselves. Find the connection, the person on the inside. Cut off Ronan's access to information. Miller searched her face. This isn't your fight, Jennifer. The hell it isn't. Those children are my fight now. You're my fight. I'm not sitting on the sidelines while you carry this alone. She squeezed his hands. I'm a photographer, Miller. I notice things, details most people miss. And I'm not connected to your world, which means I can see patterns you might miss because you're too close. Let me help. Would you risk everything to help the man you love, even knowing the danger involved? Miller pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. I don't want you at risk. The thought of them targeting you because of me, I can't. I won't let that happen. Then we'll be careful. But we'll do this together. Jennifer pulled back to meet his eyes. Tell me about Dax, your head of security. What do we know about him? Miller's expression flickered with something, doubt maybe. Dax Merritt, former Marine, exemplary record. Hired him 4 years ago when I needed to upgrade security after the twins were born. He's been loyal, thorough, maybe overly paranoid, but given the circumstances that seemed appropriate. Any connection to the Castellano family? None that I could find. His background checks out completely, but... Miller moved to one of the file folders, pulled out a thin sheaf of papers. 2 months ago, he started making larger deposits to his bank account. Nothing huge, just a few thousand here and there. When I asked, he said he'd been doing some freelance security consulting. It checked out. The company exists, but something felt off. Jennifer took the bank statement, studying them. These deposits, they're always round numbers. 5,000 exactly. 3,000 exactly. That's not how consulting usually works. There are usually invoices, odd amounts based on hours. I noticed that too. But I don't have proof of anything except that he's making extra money, which isn't a crime. What if we test him? Feed him false information, see if it gets back to the Castellanos? Jennifer's mind was racing now, the puzzle pieces rearranging themselves. "Tell him we're planning to move the twins to California next week. If he's the leak, that information will get passed along, and we'll see a response." Miller considered it. "It's risky. If he is working for them and he realizes we're testing him, he could accelerate whatever plan they have. Or we could finally get proof and shut this down before someone gets hurt." The war on Miller's face was clear. Protection versus action. Finally, he nodded. "Okay, we'll try it. But carefully, and with backup plans. I'm not risking you or the children on a hunch." "Agreed. So what's our play?" They spent the next hour strategizing, planning exactly what information to feed Dax and how to monitor for a response. Miller would tell him about the fictional California move during their next security briefing, make it seem urgent and real. Jennifer would watch for any unusual activity, any changes in routine or security protocols. It felt good, having a plan, being active instead of reactive, working together instead of Miller, shouldering everything alone. By the time they emerged from Vivian's office, it was nearly lunchtime. The twins were in the playroom with Mrs. Dorothy, and Dax was in the kitchen going over some kind of tablet with security feeds. He looked up when they entered, his expression neutral but his eyes sharp. "Mr. Pierce, Miss Leonard, everything all right?" "Fine, Dax. Actually, I need to speak with you." "My office, 15 minutes?" Miller's tone was casual, professional. "Of course, sir." After Dax left, Mrs. Dorothy approached with a knowing smile. "There's a package for you, Miss Leonard. Arrived this morning. I put it in your room." Jennifer had forgotten she even had a room separate from Miller's anymore. "Thank you, Mrs. Dorothy." The package was sitting on her bed, a large, flat envelope with a return address she didn't recognize. Curious, Jennifer opened it carefully. Inside were prints, photographs she'd submitted to a gallery competition 3 months ago and forgotten about in the chaos of everything else. A letter was paper-clipped to them. "Dear Miss Leonard, we are pleased to inform you that your submission, Unseen City, has been selected for inclusion in our upcoming exhibition of emerging artists. The show opens in 2 weeks. We would love to feature you as one of our spotlight artists. With a brief artist talk on opening night, please contact us to confirm your participation." Jennifer read the letter 3 times, disbelief and joy warring in her chest. This was huge. This gallery was prestigious, the kind of place that launched careers, the kind of opportunity she'd dreamed about but never thought she'd actually get. She ran to find Miller, who was just finishing up with Dax. His face lit up when he saw her expression. "Good news? I got into a gallery show. A real one. At the Hoffman Gallery in Chelsea. They want to feature me, Miller. This could change everything for my career." Miller swept her into his arms, lifting her off her feet and spinning her around despite Dax's presence. "That's incredible. I'm so proud of you. When is it?" 2 weeks from Friday. There's an opening night reception. They want me to do an artist talk." The reality was setting in now, nerves joining the excitement. "I don't even know what I'd say. And I'd need to frame the prints properly and probably get something nicer to wear, and oh God, what if no one likes them?" "Hey," Miller set her down, cupping her face. "Your work is brilliant. They're going to love it. And you're going to be amazing. I'll be there, front row, your biggest supporter." "You don't have to. I know you're busy and it's just a small thing." "It's not a small thing. It's your dream. And I'm absolutely going to be there, watching you shine." His eyes were so full of love and pride, it made her chest ache. My talented, incredible girlfriend showing her art to the world. I wouldn't miss it for anything. Girlfriend. He'd called her his girlfriend, and the casual intimacy of it, the claiming, made Jennifer's heart soar. Dax cleared his throat awkwardly. "Congratulations, Miss Leonard. That's quite an achievement." "Thank you, Dax." Jennifer had almost forgotten he was there. "I should go. Mr. Pierce, we'll continue our discussion later?" Dax's expression was unreadable. "Yes, thank you." After he left, Miller pulled Jennifer back into his arms. "See? Good things happen when you let yourself hope, says the man who's been planning for the worst for 2 years. Which is exactly why I know the value of celebrating the good when it comes. He kissed her softly. We're going shopping. You need a dress that will make every art critic in that room forget how to form sentences. Miller, I can't let you buy me clothes. You absolutely can. Consider it a patron of the arts supporting emerging talent. His smile was teasing. Besides, I want to see you in something stunning so I can spend the whole night imagining taking it off you later. Heat flooded Jennifer's cheeks. You're terrible. I'm in love. There's a difference. He kissed her again, deeper this time. Now come on, let's tell the twins. They'll be so excited their Jennifer is going to be famous. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of preparation and increasing tension. The gallery show consumed Jennifer's free time, selecting which prints to display, writing her artist statement, practicing her talk. Miller was endlessly supportive, offering thoughtful feedback and genuine enthusiasm. The twins helped her practice, sitting in the living room while she stumbled through explanations of her artistic vision, offering commentary like, I like the pretty colors, and that building looks angry. But underneath the excitement, the investigation into Dax continued. Miller had planted the California move story, making it seem urgent and confidential. For 3 days, nothing happened. Then, on day 4, Dax requested an unusual meeting, suggesting they needed to discuss long-term security protocols for relocation. Too perfect. Too convenient. Miller and Jennifer compared notes in his office late at night, both of them tense. He's fishing, Miller said, trying to get more details about the move without being obvious. So he's either extremely thorough or he's the leak. Jennifer studied the security footage from that day, watching Dax's movements. There, look, he went to the roof access during his lunch break. Normally, he eats in the security office. The roof has limited camera coverage. He knows that. Miller's jaw clenched. He's making calls he doesn't want recorded. Can we check his phone records? Not without a warrant, which we don't have grounds for. But I can have someone watch him. See if he makes contact with anyone suspicious. The pieces were falling into place, but slowly, maddeningly slowly. And all the while, Jennifer felt eyes on her, a prickling awareness that made her check over her shoulder and double-check the locks. The night of the gallery opening arrived with spring warmth and clear skies. Jennifer was a bundle of nerves, changing her outfit 3 times before Miller stepped in. That one, he said decisively, pointing to a sleek black dress that hugged her curves and fell to just above her knees. You look stunning and confident, and exactly like the artist you are. It's not too much? It's perfect. Now put it on before we're late to your own opening. The dress was perfect, Jennifer had to admit, and when Miller fastened a delicate bracelet around her wrist, platinum to match the necklace she wore always now, she felt beautiful and claimed and ready to face anything. They took the twins, because Miller insisted this was a family event, and Caspian and Seraphine should see Jennifer being celebrated. Mrs. Dorothy came along to help wrangle them, and even Dax accompanied them as security, though Jennifer noticed Miller kept him at a distance. The Hoffman Gallery was already crowded when they arrived, art enthusiasts and critics mingling among the displayed photographs. Jennifer's series was featured prominently, her images of New York's hidden corners and unseen moments blown up large and beautifully framed. Seeing them on the walls, professional and real, made emotion clog her throat. "They're beautiful, sweetheart," Miller murmured in her ear. "You should be so proud. I can't believe this is real. Believe it. This is just the beginning." He kissed her temple, and several people nearby smiled at them, this beautiful family clearly in love. The evening passed in a blur of conversations with gallery owners and fellow artists, with strangers praising her work and asking about her process. Jennifer's artist talk went better than expected, her nervousness fading as she talked about finding beauty in overlooked places, about how her camera helped her see truth beneath surfaces. Miller watched from the front with the twins, his expression so full of pride and love it made her voice catch. This was what happiness felt like, she realized. Being seen, being supported, being loved exactly as she was. The reception was winding down, Jennifer accepting congratulations from the gallery owner when she noticed Dax on his phone near the entrance. His body language was tense, agitated, and he kept glancing at Miller and the twins. Jennifer's instincts prickled. Something was wrong. She made her way to Miller, kept her voice low. "Dax is acting strange. He's been on his phone for 10 minutes, keeps watching you." Miller's expression shuttered immediately into alertness. "Where?" "By the door. Don't look directly." But it was too late. Dax had noticed them noticing him. He pocketed his phone and approached, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. "Wonderful event, Miss Leonard. Very impressive. But I think we should be heading home soon. The children are getting tired." Caspian and Seraphine were, in fact, wound up and giggly, nowhere near tired. The lie was blatant. "We'll leave when we're ready," Miller said coolly. "Thank you for your concern." Dax's jaw tightened. "Sir, I really think we should go now. The security situation here isn't ideal. Too many unvetted people. Multiple exits. We've been here 2 hours without incident. Another 30 minutes won't hurt." The tension between them was palpable. Jennifer could see the calculation in Dax's eyes, the weighing of options. Then his phone buzzed again, and he glanced at it, his expression flickering with something that might have been fear. "Excuse me," he said abruptly, and headed for the exit. Miller looked at Jennifer. "Stay with the twins. Don't let them out of your sight." Then he was following Dax, moving through the crowd with purpose. Jennifer's heart hammered as she gathered Caspian and Seraphine close, kept Mrs. Dorothy nearby, and watched the door where both men had disappeared. 5 minutes passed, 10. Jennifer was about to call Miller when he reappeared, his expression thunderous. "We're leaving. Now." Something in his tone killed any argument. Jennifer gathered the twins, thanked the gallery owner hastily, and followed Miller to where their car was waiting. Dax was nowhere to be seen. Once they were safe in the car, Jennifer turned to Miller. "What happened?" "I confronted him, asked point-blank if he was feeding information to the Castellanos." Miller's hands were clenched on his knees. He didn't deny it. Jennifer's stomach dropped. "What?" "He said he didn't have a choice, that they have something on him, some mistake from his past they're using as leverage. He's been feeding them our schedules, our security protocols, information about the twins." Miller's voice was ice-cold with fury. "He swears he never told them about tonight, never mentioned the gallery or your show. But Jennifer, his phone records show 3 calls today to a number registered to a shell company owned by the Castellano family. He led them here, to the gallery. That's my assumption, which is why we're going straight home. I'm firing him immediately, and we're implementing new security protocols tonight." Miller pulled out his phone, already making calls. "I'm also contacting the FBI, telling them everything. It's time to stop playing defense and go on the offensive." The rest of the ride was tense. Miller on the phone, coordinating with someone, probably his lawyers or security consultants. Jennifer held the twins, who had picked up on the adults' anxiety and gone quiet. By the time they reached the penthouse, a new security team was already there, strangers with serious faces and military bearing. Dax's things were packed, and he was escorted out without ceremony. He tried to approach Miller one last time. "I'm sorry. I never wanted. They threatened my family. I didn't have a choice." "There's always a choice," Miller said flatly. "You chose wrong. Get out of my home and stay away from my children, or I will destroy you." "That's not a threat, it's a promise." Dax left. His shoulders slumped in defeat, and Jennifer felt the weight of what this meant settling over all of them. They'd found the leak, but in doing so, they'd exposed themselves. The Castellanos now knew they were being investigated, knew their inside man had been compromised. The game had changed. and Jennifer had the terrible feeling it was about to get much worse before it got better. The days following Dax's exposure were tense, everyone on high alert. Miller hired a completely new security team, vetted personally by FBI contacts. He barely slept, working late into the night, coordinating with federal agents, building their case against the Castellano family. Jennifer tried to maintain normalcy for the twins, but even Caspian and Seraphine sensed the change in atmosphere, becoming clingy and anxious. It was 6 days after the gallery opening when everything fell apart. Miller had an emergency meeting at his office downtown, something about a potential security breach in his company's servers. He didn't want to go, wanted to stay close to the twins, but his CTO insisted it couldn't wait. Jennifer assured him they'd be fine. The new security team was thorough, and she wouldn't let the children out of her sight. She should have trusted her instincts when Miller kissed her goodbye that morning with unusual intensity, holding her just a fraction too long. "I love you," he'd said against her mouth. "You know that, right? Whatever happens, you know I love you and those children more than anything in this world. I know. I love you too. Now go. We'll be here when you get back." He'd left, but kept texting her every 20 minutes. Updates on his location, checking in, the constant contact of someone who couldn't shake a sense of foreboding. Jennifer responded each time, sent photos of the twins playing, tried to reassure him even as her own unease grew. Around 2 in the afternoon, Mrs. Dorothy left early with what she said was a migraine. The new head of security, Noble, received a call about a suspicious package in the building's mailroom and went to investigate with half the team. It all happened so smoothly, so naturally, that Jennifer didn't realize until later how perfectly orchestrated it was. She was alone with the twins in the playroom when the elevator dinged. Jennifer looked up, expecting Noble returning, and instead saw 2 men in maintenance uniforms she didn't recognize. Her instincts screamed danger even before one of them smiled and pulled out a gun. "Don't scream, Miss Leonard. We're not here to hurt the children. Just you." Jennifer's blood turned to ice. She stepped in front of Caspian and Seraphine, putting her body between them and the threat. "Get out. Security will be back any second." "Security is currently dealing with a bomb threat 3 floors down. We have about 10 minutes. You can come quietly, or we can make this difficult. Your choice. But think about those kids before you decide." The calculation was instant and terrible. If she fought, if she screamed, these men might panic and hurt the twins. If she went quietly, Miller would come for her. She knew he would move heaven and earth to get her back. "Let me put them in their room first. They don't need to see this." The man with the gun nodded. 5 minutes. Jennifer gathered the twins, her hands shaking, but her voice steady. "Hey guys, we're going to play a game. I need you to go to your room and hide in the fort we built, remember? The blanket fort. And you stay there super quiet until Daddy comes home. Can you do that for me?" Seraphine's eyes were huge with fear. "Jennifer, I'm scared." "I know, baby, but you're so brave. You and Caspian are the bravest kids I know. Go hide, stay quiet, and Daddy will find you soon. I promise." She kissed both their heads, breathing in their little kid smell, praying this wasn't the last time. "I love you both so much." Caspian grabbed her hand. "Are the bad men going to hurt you?" "No, sweetheart. Everything's going to be okay. Now go, quickly." She watched them run to their room, watched Caspian take his sister's hand like the protective big brother he was becoming, and felt something in her chest crack. Then she turned to face the men who'd invaded their home. "I'm ready." They zip-tied her hands, surprisingly gentle about it, and led her to the service elevator. Jennifer tried to memorize details, anything that might help later. Both men were tall, muscular, professional. One had a scar above his left eyebrow. The other wore a wedding ring. They didn't speak to each other, moving with military precision. The elevator took them to the parking garage, where a black SUV waited. They put her in the back seat, 1 man on either side, and drove. Jennifer watched the city pass through tinted windows and tried not to panic. Miller would get her security footage. He'd see what happened. He'd find her. She just had to stay alive long enough. The drive took maybe 30 minutes, ending at a luxury high-rise in Tribeca. They took her up to a penthouse apartment that was all modern elegance and river views, completely at odds with the situation. And there, sitting on a leather sofa like he was hosting a dinner party, was a man Jennifer recognized from Miller's investigation files. Ronan Castellano. Handsome in a sharp-edged way, expensive suit, cold eyes that assessed her like a possession. "Miss Leonard, thank you for joining me." His voice was cultured, pleasant, terrifying in its normalcy. "I didn't exactly have a choice." "No, I suppose not. Please sit. Can I offer you something to drink? I want to go home. Soon. First, we need to have a conversation." Ronan gestured to a chair across from him. "Sit, Jennifer. I promise. I have no intention of hurting you. You're far too valuable." Jennifer sat because standing felt like weakness. "Miller will come for me. I'm counting on it." "That's rather the point." Ronan poured himself scotch from a crystal decanter. "You see, Miller Pierce has something that belongs to me, my children, my blood, and he's refused every reasonable attempt to negotiate shared custody or visitation, so I'm forced to be more creative. Those children are terrified of you. You had their mother killed." Ronan's expression flickered. Might have been pain. "Is that what he told you?" "That I killed Vivienne, didn't you?" "No, Miss Leonard. I loved her. She was carrying my children, building a life with me, until Miller Pierce manipulated her into thinking I was dangerous. He seduced her with promises of safety and legitimacy, married her, and stole my family." The conviction in his voice was chilling because he clearly believed it. "Everything I've done has been to get back what's mine. You're delusional. Vivienne ran from you because you wanted her to terminate the pregnancy. Another lie. I wanted those babies. Wanted a life with her despite my family's objections. But Miller, he saw an opportunity. Beautiful damsel in distress, pregnant and vulnerable. He could play hero, get a wife to legitimize his corporate image, and children to secure his legacy. Very efficient. Ronan's smile was ice. "He's kept me from my children for 3 years. That ends now. He'll never give them to you." "He will, because if he doesn't, I'll make sure you disappear. Permanently this time." Ronan leaned forward. "I don't want to hurt you, Jennifer. From what I understand, you're good with the twins. They love you. In an ideal world, you could continue caring for them while I have custody. But Miller has to make a choice. You or them. His lover or his children. What do you think he'll choose?" Jennifer's heart hammered. "This is insane. This is justice. Now, let's call him. Shall we?" Ronan pulled out Jennifer's phone, which his men must have taken. He dialed Miller's number and put it on speaker. It rang once before Miller answered, his voice tight with barely controlled panic. "Jennifer, where are you? Are you hurt?" The twins said men came. "Security found them hiding, and they're safe. But sweetheart, tell me where you are." Hearing his voice, the fear underneath the control made tears burn Jennifer's eyes. "I'm okay. I'm with Ronan Castellano." Silence. Then Miller's voice went deadly calm, the tone he used when he was most dangerous. "Put him on." Ronan smiled. "Hello, Miller. It's been a long time. If you've hurt her, if you've touched a single hair on her head, I will end you. Money won't protect you. Your family won't protect you. I will burn your entire world to the ground." Such dramatics. She's perfectly fine. As you can hear, well-treated, comfortable. She'll stay that way as long as you're reasonable. What do you want? "My children. Full custody. Legally transferred. You sign the papers. I return your lover unharmed. Simple transaction." Miller's laugh was harsh. "You think I'd trust you to honor that deal? The moment I sign anything, you'll kill her and take the kids anyway. Then we're at an impasse. Because I'm not leaving without my children, Miller. One way or another, I'm taking what belongs to me." Jennifer found her voice. "Don't give him anything, Miller. Don't you dare trade those kids for me. They need you. Jennifer, stop talking, Miller said, but she heard the anguish underneath. No, I mean it. Caspian and Seraphine come first. Promise me. Whatever happens, you protect them. I'm going to protect all of you, Miller said, and the steel in his voice was absolute. Ronan, you want to negotiate? Fine, let's meet. Face to face. You bring Jennifer, I'll bring my lawyers. We'll discuss terms like civilized people instead of this kidnapping amateur hour bullshit. Ronan's eyes narrowed. You'll bring the FBI. I'll come alone. You have my word. Name the place. The old Castellano warehouse in Red Hook. 1 hour. You alone, or she dies. Understand? Crystal clear. And Ronan, if she has so much as a bruise when I get there, our negotiation will be very short and very fatal. The call ended. Ronan set down the phone, looking satisfied. Well, that went smoothly. You're making a mistake, Jennifer said. Miller's not going to just hand over custody. He'll find another way. There is no other way. I hold all the cards now. Ronan stood, smoothing his suit. We should go. Traffic to Red Hook can be unpredictable. The warehouse was exactly what Jennifer expected. All crumbling brick and broken windows and the smell of the river. Ronan's men positioned her in the center of the open space, still zip-tied but otherwise unharmed. Ronan himself stood nearby, checking his watch with the casual air of someone waiting for a business meeting. Jennifer's mind raced. Miller had said he'd come alone, but that was obviously a lie. He'd bring backup, probably FBI. This would turn into a standoff or a raid. She just had to stay calm and trust him. Right on time. A black car pulled up outside. Miller got out, and Jennifer's heart clenched at the sight of him. He looked calm, controlled, but she could see the fury and fear in every line of his body as he walked into the warehouse. His eyes found hers immediately. Are you hurt? I'm fine. Good. His gaze shifted to Ronan. Let her go, now. Then we'll talk. Not until we have an agreement. Ronan pulled out a document. Custody papers. Already drawn up, just need your signature. Sign them. She walks free. Miller took the papers, scanned them, then tore them in half. Not happening. Try again. Ronan's expression hardened. Then she dies. No, she doesn't, because you need me alive and cooperative to have any chance at those children. Kill her, kill me, and custody defaults to my designated guardian. You lose everything. Miller's smile was knife-sharp. You're not holding cards, Ronan. You're holding a losing hand and bluffing badly. I could make you watch her die slowly. Change your mind pretty quickly. You could try, but you'd be dead before you finish the threat. Miller's voice dropped to something cold and final. I didn't come alone, you idiot. I brought the FBI. They're surrounding this building right now. You're done. As if on cue, the sound of vehicles outside shouted commands, the organized chaos of a raid in progress. Ronan's face went white with rage. You gave me your word. I lied. Something you'd understand. Miller was already moving toward Jennifer. It's over, Ronan. The FBI has everything. Dax's testimony, financial records, proof of your organization's criminal enterprise. You're going to prison for a very long time. Ronan pulled a gun, aiming it at Jennifer. Then I have nothing to lose. Everything happened at once. FBI agents burst through the warehouse doors, shouting. Miller launched himself at Ronan, tackling him before he could fire. Jennifer threw herself to the ground as the gun went off, the bullet ricocheting off metal somewhere above her head. Then agents were everywhere, subduing Ronan, cutting Jennifer's zip ties, and Miller was pulling her into his arms with bruising force. I've got you. I've got you. You're safe, he repeated like a mantra, his hands running over her like he needed physical proof she was unharmed. God, Jennifer, when I saw that security footage, when I realized they'd taken you, I've never been so terrified in my life. I'm okay. I'm okay. Jennifer clung to him, breathing in his familiar scent, letting the safety of his arms chase away the fear. The twins, are they really safe? With my sister and a protective detail. Completely safe. I got them out the moment I knew what happened. He pulled back to cup her face, his eyes suspiciously bright. You told me to choose them over you. They're children. They need you more than I do. No. The word was fierce. I need you just as much as I need them. You're not disposable or less important. You're everything. Do you understand? You're my family now, Jennifer. And I don't sacrifice family. Jennifer kissed him, pouring all her relief and love and terror into it. Miller kissed her back like he was trying to memorize the taste of her, like he'd been convinced he'd never get to touch her again. An FBI agent cleared his throat politely. Mr. Pierce, we'll need statements from both of you. Later, Miller growled, not letting Jennifer go. Sir, it really should be now, while details are fresh. Miller finally, reluctantly, released her enough to face the agent. Fine, but she doesn't leave my sight. Not for a second. They gave statements at the FBI field office, Jennifer recounting every detail of her abduction, while Miller held her hand so tight her fingers went numb. The lead agent, a serious woman named Chen, explained that Ronan was being charged with kidnapping, criminal conspiracy, and about 15 other counts. Between Dax's testimony and the evidence Miller had compiled, the entire Castellano organization was being dismantled. You're safe now, Agent Chen said. All of you. It's over. But it didn't feel over until they were back at the penthouse, until Jennifer saw Caspian and Seraphine running toward her, with Miller's sister Sophia following behind. The twins crashed into her, crying and clinging, and Jennifer sank to the floor to hold them properly. You came back, Seraphine sobbed. You said you would, and you did. I'll always come back to you. Always. Jennifer looked up at Miller, who was watching them with an expression of such love it made her chest ache. We're a family. Families don't leave. That night, after the twins were finally asleep and Sophia had left and the new security team had done their final sweep, Miller led Jennifer to their bedroom. He'd been touching her constantly since the warehouse, small points of contact like he needed to confirm she was real and present. I need you to know something, he said as he closed the door behind them. When I thought I might lose you today, when I realized Ronan had taken you, every priority I thought I had rearranged itself. The twins are my children, and I love them more than life. But you, Jennifer, you're my heart. Losing you would destroy me just as much as losing them. Miller, you don't have to say that to make me feel better about telling you to choose them. I'm not saying it to make you feel better. I'm saying it because it's true and you need to hear it. He moved closer, backing her toward the bed. You're mine, Jennifer Leonard. Mine to protect. Mine to cherish. Mine to love for the rest of our lives if you'll have me. Jennifer's breath caught. What are you saying? Miller pulled a small box from his pocket, flipped it open to reveal a stunning ring, a diamond surrounded by smaller stones that caught the light. I'm saying marry me. Not because we've been dating long enough, or because it's the logical next step. Marry me, because I can't imagine my life without you in it. Because you make me better, make us all better. Because when I picture the future, you're in every moment of it. Tears spilled down Jennifer's cheeks. We've known each other 2 months. I don't care. I knew after 2 weeks. After you made me play hide and seek with my own children and looked at me like I wasn't broken beyond repair. His hands cupped her face, thumbs wiping away tears. Marry me, Jennifer. Let me spend the rest of my life proving you made the right choice. Yes, Jennifer whispered. Yes, you possessive, intense, wonderful man. I'll marry you. Miller's kiss was claiming and tender at once, a promise sealed with touch. He slid the ring onto her finger, then lifted her easily, laying her on the bed with reverent care. Mine, he said, his hands already working her clothes free. Say it. Yours. I'm always yours. Damn right you are. His mouth traced down her throat, pausing at the necklace she still wore, his initial against her skin. Going to marry you, make you Jennifer Pierce, make sure everyone knows exactly who you belong to. So possessive, Jennifer gasped as his hands found skin. You love it. He looked up at her, eyes dark with want and love. Tell me you love it. I love it. I love you. Now stop talking and show me exactly how possessive you can be. Miller's smile was wicked. Yes, ma'am. He made love to her with desperate tenderness, like he was rewriting the terror of the day with pleasure and connection and whispered promises. Jennifer came apart in his arms, safe and loved and home, and when Miller followed her over the edge with her name on his lips, she knew with absolute certainty that this was where she belonged. 3 months later, Jennifer stood in the penthouse living room in a simple white dress, surrounded by a handful of close friends and family, and married the love of her life. Caspian and Seraphine stood beside them as ring-bearers, giggling through the ceremony. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Miller kissed her like he'd been waiting his entire life for permission, and the twins cheered. That night, after the small celebration and after the twins were asleep, Miller found Jennifer on the terrace overlooking the city. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, pulling her back against his chest. Happy, Mrs. Pierce? Jennifer looked down at her wedding ring, the physical symbol of belonging to this man and this family. Deliriously happy. You? I didn't think I was capable of feeling this much. Joy, peace, love. You gave me all of that. He kissed her temple. Thank you for taking a chance on this broken man and his traumatized children. Best decision I ever made, offering you that job. Jennifer laughed, the sound free and genuine. He kissed her under the stars, the city spread below them, the future bright with possibility, and Jennifer knew that whatever came next, they'd face it together. A family built not from blood or obligation, but from choice and love, and the courage to let broken pieces create something beautiful. Their story had started with a photograph and a proposition. It had survived danger and secrets and fear, and it would continue through all the messy, complicated, wonderful years ahead, because they'd chosen each other. Again and again, they'd choose each other. And that was the greatest love story of all. The end. Did Jennifer and Miller's passionate journey from accidental photograph to forever family capture your heart? If you loved this story of possessive love, second chances, and found family, please like this video, subscribe for more steamy romance stories, and drop a comment telling me your favorite moment. Was it their first kiss? The locked room discovery? Or the emotional proposal? I want to hear from you. And if you can't get enough of fierce billionaires and the strong women who tame them, check out the end screen story for another enemies to lovers romance that will leave you breathless. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next story. Lots of love.